It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here. Mary Jo Foley is here. Of course, there's a new version of Windows 11. We'll talk about that. New version of Visual Studio as well. Some layoffs, I'm sorry to say, in the Modern Life Experiences team. And finally, Xbox Ultimate Game Passes for families, too. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 789, recorded Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. Made in Raccoon City. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Unify Meeting from Mimo Monitors. Unify simplifies your work life by combining your favorite video conferencing solutions into one reliable, universal user interface. Visit unifymeeting.com and enter the code WW for 25% off a year's subscription, or use the same code to get 25% off any of Mimo's 7-inch displays. And by SecureWorks. Are you ready for inevitable cyber threats? SecureWorks detects ever-changing threats and defends against them with a combination of security analytics and human intelligence. Visit secureworks.com/twit to get a free trial of Taegis XDR. It's time for Windows Weekly. Hello, dozers. Hello, winners. The show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with Paulie Thurrott, little Paulie Walnuts. Thurrott.com. He's in Mexico this week.
Hola, Leo.
Hola, Paul. Or is it pronounced Hall?
Yeah, exactly.
Mary Jo Foley, she's in New York. All about Microsoft.com. Hello, you two.
Hello.
You said it was 99 degrees when you left, Paul, last night?
In Newark. Yeah.
Newark. Is it that hot, Mary Jo, today?
Real feel yesterday in New York was 105.
Yow!
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, it was horrific. The plane
horrific.
I got in was so hot, the AC couldn't keep up with it. So they had all the windows shut. Everyone was sweating their butts off. They kept saying, look, we know, we're sorry, here's some water. But we sat there for half an hour before we got it. It took, I think, half an hour in the air before the cabin finally cooled down.
Wow.
But man, what a horror show that was in Newark.
And the minute he left Newark, the water main
Right.
busted there. And
What?
Not coincidentally.
Yeah. It was a giant water main bust with like 100,000 people with no water yesterday while it was 105.
Oh, that's
Because
not
the only
good.
thing worse than 99 degrees is 99 degrees without water.
Oh, my golly, good gosh.
Yeah. It's
Good
been
God.
bad.
Was it a plane
guys.
heading to Mexico City that blasted the water main because they couldn't get out of there fast enough?
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Let me adjust your lower third to accommodate your
But let
new
me say,
location.
it's going to be low 70s here every day, and I could not be happier.
It's nice. Because you're at altitude. That's right.
Yeah.
You're not, while much of Mexico does get very, very hot in the summer, Mexico City is always relatively.
Actually, so we just did this thing where we looked at climates of various cities we go to, and most of them, Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., Paris, Barcelona, is this curve in the middle of the year where the temperature goes up, and the differences between the highest and the lowest is big. Mexico City is not quite a flat line, but it's like this low 70s to almost 80, and then high 40s to high 50s at night. It's so consistent year round. People are always like, "Oh, it's going to be really hot because it's the summer," and it's cooler now than it was in April.
And you have good internet there, I see. It looks.
We have okay internet, I would say.
You're not clicking or nothing. You're working.
Yeah,
It's
no, I
working.
put it on a wire, just in case.
Yeah, it looks good.
My family has left. So,
I guess your son's there with you this time. Last time it was your wife and daughter, and it's nice to have a place in Mexico, isn't it? That's kind of cool. You just kind of come down. How long's that flight?
yeah, about 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a flight, but still.
Yeah, but it's just, it's one leg. It's not,
Right.
it's
Newark direct. Yeah, not bad. Mm-hmm. And how far from the airport are you in Mexico City? Is it a long?
20 minutes.
Oh, nice.
By Uber.
Whoop.
Yep.
Right into town.
It's unbelievable.
Into Roma Norte. Well,
I don't know. It's unbelievable.
you're happy. And I saw, if you don't follow Paul's Instagram, you should. unless you don't want to see millions of pictures of food and booze. But
there will be a lot of that. Yeah.
Oh, man, I looked at your breakfast. I thought, I wish I were there right now. That looked fabulous. Fabulous. So
It's not horrible.
Yeah.
I was telling our son, 5-minute walk from our house are 3 of the best restaurants I've ever been to in my life. It's
Really?
crazy.
Wow.
is that restaurant, it looked like it was almost like across the street from you.
The one we had breakfast at is a 2-minute walk on the same block that we live on.
Wow.
The one the dinner place we had last night is a 5-minute walk. It's 2 blocks away. So that's the corner of the block. We're to the left, just right down the street there.
Look at this. I'm so jealous. Was that your dinner, your breakfast? Little eggs?
That was
That was
huevos
Steph's?
rancheros. That was my son and
Mark had that.
wife.
Look at that.
I had
Bacon
this.
and
This
eggs.
was
That's yours, I could tell.
Huevos con tocino.
Con tocino. Is that bacon?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, I'm hungry just looking at this. And then this is your restaurant, the other one?
No, that's just the place that's across the street from the restaurant. It's just
the pink,
I just like
the
look
pink
of it.
building.
It's just kind of a
Wait, is bacon really called contosino?
Well, with it's tocino is bacon.
Tocino.
Con is
I was thinking
just
of
wet, so it's-
contoso.
Oh no! It's con is a separate word.
Looks like really good bacon, I'll be honest with you. Looks
it was good.
tasty. So jealous.
Haven't really had a lot of bad meals here.
So jealous.
Yeah.
So good. But in the bad news department, it was really inexpensive.
How much? Just did breakfast for 3.
Well, do you really want to know? You don't want to know.
I want to know.
It was $15 with tip.
Nice. Really
Wow.
nice. That's really nice. Well, so we're all happy for you.
Yeah, exactly. Sure we are.
Let's get right to the good news from Microsoft. Layoffs.
Dun, dun.
It's that time. They do it every year this time, don't they? It feels like.
Yeah, they do. But it feels like this is kind of trickling out, which makes it feel
Yeah, usually they
longer or something.
reorg, do the year-end
Yeah.
fiscal report, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, but this year is exacerbated by the conditions that are occurring with the economy. And what we're seeing across big tech is slowing of hiring, halting of hiring, getting rid of some headcount. These guys hired incredibly during the pandemic, and I think they realize now maybe that was a mistake. And just this is kind of a Mary Jo thing. I think she has a lot more information about this than I do. But Leo, you met at least I think all 4 of those guys from Microsoft at that little meetup
Yeah,
we had
that was fun.
Seattle. I think I think those guys were all part of this.
what?
I think they were all laid off.
Oh no!
All of them were?
I think so.
Modern
I'm not sure.
life
I've heard
experiences.
from-
What is
I've heard from?
they loved Microsoft,
They were the nicest guys,
and they were
just-
happy.
Yep.
One of them.
I don't want to. I don't. Yeah.
One of them, no name. We won't say names. But one of them, I think, was already transitioning to another team. So maybe he leaped like a frog. From
Yeah.
lily
I'm not
pad to
100%
lily
sure
pad.
about the whole group, but
So what is the
Yeah.
Modern Life Experiences team? What is
So-
that?
Yeah. So I'll give you the backstory of this. 2018, Microsoft had this idea that they knew they had screwed up with consumers and they wanted to try to make a comeback with them. So they hatched this idea called Modern Life. Yusuf Mehdi became the head of this team. And the idea was we're going to field a bunch of consumer things that we think will get consumers to re-engage with us. It was very prosumer focused. So not like gaming stuff. It was more like productivity type things for consumers. Okay, cut to this week. There's a subset of that team called MLX, Modern Life Experiences. This is the team that was responsible for family safety, the parental control thing, MileIQ, which is a product Microsoft got when they bought a company called Mobile Data Labs, I think. And it would let you keep track of your mileage. And then it also is responsible for what was
the money
third
in
product?
Excel, right?
Money in Excel, right? Money in Excel, an add-in to Excel that let people use it like a personal finance management kind of thing. So that's all this MLX team. So yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, Microsoft announced to a couple hundred people, or maybe 150 or so, you know what? We're dissolving this team. So there's some surprises here and some non-surprises. MileIQ, I wasn't surprised about because Microsoft had quietly sold that company back to the guys who sold it to them last year. and had discontinued it. Yeah. That was kind of like a little hidden thing. Like nobody was asking about it. And then the other day, somebody sent me a link and they said, MileIQ, they sold that off. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Okay. And then the money in Excel, we knew from a couple of months ago, because Microsoft sent out emails to people who are using that they were going to discontinue that completely next year. So it feels like the organizational structure is catching up with them already kind of weeding through this stuff, right? And the one mystery thing is family safety. I don't think they're going to kill that because earlier this year, they made family safety an inbox app for Windows 11. Right. So I think they laid off some of the team, maybe some of the people who are doing back-end services for family safety, but I think they're going to keep family safety around.
Family safety, I was saying to Mary Jo earlier, it has to date back to at least Windows Vista.
Yeah, I think it does.
It was probably part of that, Windows Live wave where they were, went into that eventually.
Yeah.
You mentioned Yusuf Mehdi. I bet Yusuf Mehdi ran the part of the company that made this originally back in the day. I'm pretty sure he was there. And it's kind of gone back and forth. It's been in Windows. It's been out of Windows. It's kind of mostly in the cloud. Then there's a client now. And, they have mobile clients. They're on Android and iOS too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked to this family safety guy. I remember him.
Yeah, that's what Paul said.
And I think but he was about to move, so I hope he moved in the nick of time.
In the nick of time.
Yeah. He really, you know what? It's sad because he really enjoyed working on family safety. Like he really dug it.
Yep.
Yeah. So the way this was discovered, Business Insider found a woman who was on one of these projects who posted on LinkedIn, hey, my whole team just got cut yesterday, right? And then if you dig into her post on LinkedIn, you see all these other people saying, I'm open for work. I'm open for work. This is the whole team like posting, I need a job. Like Microsoft said to them, you can either take severance or you can get a new job inside the company. So you have a choice. Like you can leave Microsoft or find a new position inside. But, right now, Microsoft's kind of slowing hiring in a lot of these areas where these people would be a good fit. They announced they were slowing hiring in Windows and Office. The places they're not slowing hiring, maybe they can get a job. Right.
It was kind of the client-side part of Microsoft that had the slowness first. Right.
And that makes sense when you think about their earnings last quarter, right? Like Windows consumer was off, right? Advertising was off. Xbox gaming was off. So all the consumer businesses were down. So if you're Amy Hood, the CFO, and you're looking at this, you're like, where we should make cuts? Consumer, because that's the part of the business that's slower.
Fascinating. We've kind of made this debate a lot here on the show, and I think Mary Jo and I privately have talked about this a lot. This notion that Microsoft should have a stronger consumer presence, but they don't. It seems like a natural fit. It's one of those things that makes sense when you just talk about it. We use these products at work. Of course, we'll bring those skills home or whatever. And it really has never panned out. When I did that programming Windows series, I revisited that period of time where they made such a huge investment in all of these digital media products and services, and they really went all in. It was when Zune was still an ongoing concern.
Yep.
And man, they threw everything at it, and
they did.
Honestly, it amounted to just about nothing. I think the only thing that's kind of slid through the entire time has been Xbox.
Does this mean Microsoft has given up on consumer? Like they're finally admitting their business?
Mary, did you have? I don't know if you can
I can't really say that exactly. They don't think they've given up on consumer, right? They think they're refocusing the business on different parts of consumer where they're stronger. So Xbox is an obvious place, right? Of course, they're going to keep going with Xbox. They've had success there. But they've also had pretty good success with like Microsoft 365 family and home subscription services. So they're still continuing to invest there.
Well, I guess so. What's the number on that, though? Sorry.
I know. I forget. I forget.
It's in the tens of millions, right? 47, 50 million, somewhere in there.
Right. And it grows every quarter, right? Like every quarter they announce a new number and it's higher. It's not growing like gangbusters, but it's growing. The other thing they're proud about and investing a lot in, as we know, is advertising. And this quarter, advertising was off, but up before that, the past couple quarters, advertising had been doing better for them. And the advertising's all connected in with Bing and MSN and Microsoft Start and all these things where they're connecting ads.
Nobody wants to
their search
use.
engine. I know.
Like to count that in a consumer product line is kind of insane. We have these products and services that we force you to use, even when you make other default changes. And look, it's a booming business.
I know.
I know. I mean, it's kind of a weird.
It is.
I'm always
where
surprised
else
by this.
Okay, wait till you hear this one though. So I went on their job site because we know they've been slowing hiring, and if you search for certain things, they're still posting a lot of jobs. Like anything with AI, they've got a lot of jobs still available.
Yeah.
They've got lots in quantum because they don't actually have any products there yet, right? Sure. And they want to be successful in quantum. And Teams Consumer, they are throwing money into that thing like there's no tomorrow, right? So Teams Consumer, they've got a Teams icon built into Windows 11 on the taskbar, and they're trying to get you to use Teams chat in your home scenarios because you're used to it at work, right?
I feel like the Microsoft brand is considered old-fashioned by most people, especially young people.
Yeah.
And that Apple and Facebook and Google and Amazon are kind of hip and cool for whatever reason, and Microsoft isn't, And I know Xbox, everyone will always use Xbox, but go look at how they brand that. It's not Microsoft Xbox, right? It's Xbox.
Right.
Xbox is its own thing. And the Xbox sheen doesn't reflect on the rest of Microsoft in any way that I can see, unfortunately.
Yep.
I said to Mary Jo, I think before the show, and maybe you don't know cars enough, maybe this didn't mean anything to you, but they're almost like an Oldsmobile or Buick brand. In the sense that, well, Oldsmobile's gone, but they used to be cool, maybe, but now they're just seen as old-fashioned and dead in the case of Oldsmobile. And someone out there will say, but Google or Buick makes this one thing that's really cool. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. You're the only one that knows about it, and that's not where when people are interested in cars. That's not where their heads are at by and large.
Right.
And I think it's just unfortunate. They have such resources and reach, and they just never have really connected with consumers.
Right.
And I really can't explain it, but all I can do is watch it, I guess.
Yeah. You know what? They feel like they can't give up on it because they feel like if they do concede that, then they'll lose a generation of people who won't grow up to become Microsoft business customers, right? Like that's the thinking about why not to throw in the towel.
I think they already have. I think that when you have kids using Chromebooks in schools, and then going off to college, I think that transition is already happening.
Yeah.
And look, they may end up on Windows computers or Macs, and that's fine. But they're probably going to be using Google services like Gmail and Docs, et cetera. Yeah. And I don't think you get those guys back.
I know. So if you look at what they just are, quote, repositioning, killing, whatever you want to call it, they took away MileIQ. They took away Money in Excel, right? So these are services that they launched as kind of like adjunct services to make their subscriptions more interesting, more successful, give you more carrots to subscribe to things, right? And Family Safety is an app for Windows 11, so they may keep that. But if you try to figure out, like, where are they focusing in consumer right now? Teams, right?
Which,
they've got that.
Again, what?
I know. Designer, that thing we talked about recently because Walking Cat found some leaks. They've got like a designer tool for people that is
Which
more
is
about
what? Kind of
like Canva
kind of solution?
Yeah, kind of like Canva. Yep. So for people who want to design brochures and Instagram posts and Facebook posts and make them look beautiful, you could use this tool if and when the several launches, right?
Why would anyone think Microsoft? It's crazy. Apple used to sell something that was like a postcard maker or something. What didn't they? I mean, like it's like what we don't use you for this kind of thing. Like I just don't.
I know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I wish somebody from Microsoft, Chris Capicella, Yusuf Mehdi, somebody would come forward and say, okay, you want us to explain where we're going with our consumer strategy. Here's where we're going. But they don't even want to talk about it that way, right? They want to pretend that consumer and enterprise are just this holistic thing and there's no difference. And when what they're building for one is like good for the other. And they don't want to talk about them as two separate things, right? So
I'll tell you right now that Teams for Consumer and Teams for Business are two separate things, and they may have the same name, but they don't share a lot of the same features. I mean,
or users,
not the same product. Or users, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I know. So yeah, it's kind of a mystery where they're going with this. I tried to find out if Yusuf Mehdi is getting a new job. You're getting a new job, and you're getting a new job. But I couldn't find out if he's got a new title, a new job, or any of that. I don't know. They're very, very closed-mouthed about that whole modern life thing, and they've never really talked publicly about it. They've talked to partners privately about it. Sometimes it's mentioned in job posts, but like they have never come out and said, guys, here's what we're trying to do to revitalize our brand with consumers. They've never said that before publicly. Never had an event, never done anything with that. I think they just want to try to make the magic happen and then say, oh, look at all these good consumer things we get going on over here. But what are those good consumer things? I don't know. Like widgets?
I don't know. Widgets. So we've and I guess I have been very critical of widgets. I've used specific examples. I will say, I think I might have said this maybe earlier, but in writing the book and going over it again, that service, if you want to call it that, has improved dramatically as far as the quality of the stories and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's good. I don't personally want a newsfeed in Windows, but there it is. It's duplicated in the cloud with MS and Start or whatever they call it.
Yep.
Okay, it's fine. You know, I think I think Microsoft Edge has seen a certain level of success. They're at double-digit usage share now, and yeah, I mean, part of that is bundling, whatever. But the reality is, this product is just about as good as Chrome, and it has all those advantages. And they've added features which I've criticized, but some people I'm sure like that stuff. So
yeah.
That's fine. But and you mentioned Microsoft 365 Family and Personal, absolutely. And now I'm drawing a blank. I mean, it's kind of as far as I can go with it. I don't know what else to point to.
I know.
I mean,
in the Discord, in the Discord, some people are saying, "What about AR, VR, metaverse, whatever you want to call it?" HoloLens is an enterprise play now. Period. That's the end of that story, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not going to become a consumer brand. It's
if
not.
you are interested in virtual reality or just in gaming in general, I should say, there is a 5.5 hour long interview with John Carmack, the co-founder of id Software on YouTube. That's incredible. I watched the whole thing.
Wow.
It's like listening to an audiobook, and he goes through everything. But he, of course, was an early player in Oculus Rift, was the CTO there. They were bought by Facebook. He surprisingly talks very fondly of this company and what they're doing. And I think the reality is that for consumers, virtual reality and probably eventually artificial or augmented reality, today is Oculus, and tomorrow will be Oculus and Apple. And Microsoft did this Windows virtual reality thing that never, Windows mixed reality, that never really went anywhere. And, I guess if you're a PC gamer, I'm sure there's stuff there. I'm sure those headsets work with different games from different companies, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think this is where anyone's head's at. And this is another great example of Microsoft not being able to take advantage of the Xbox brand, enter a market that they should be a player in. We're an early adopter, an early provider of this kind of technology. Yeah. They haven't been able to turn what they did in HoloLens into anything successful on the consumer side at all. And I think this is just another example of the same thing. Yeah.
People are asking in the Discord if you could give a link to the video that you referenced.
Yeah, so actually it's on my blog. So if you go to Thurrott.com, on the forum link over on the left, or the right, sorry, I can't speak today apparently. You'll see John Carmack. Just look for John Carmack. It's incredible.
How do you spell that?
I'll
John
Carmack.
Carmack.
Carmack. Okay.
Yeah, I'll post that in the.
He goes through every single big game that they made, all the generations. It's as good as any audiobook about this type of topic. It's incredible.
Yeah. Good. I want to watch it too.
It's great. Yeah. I literally watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like a goon. Because that's what I am.
It's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. And it just touches on so many things I really care about. Guy's he's a genius. And listen, for me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to go off on a complete segue, but I had an Amiga, so I understood what good gaming meant and all that kind of stuff. And this guy took the IBM PC, which had no gaming chops whatsoever, horrific tearing of graphics if you tried to do anything with it, and turned it into a gaming machine that was better than a multiprocessor Amiga. And I'm sorry, but he's a genius. Like, it's his contributions to gaming, but really technology, are
Some amazing
almost
code
unsurpassed.
too. Some of the
He's
things
incredible.
he did were just mind-boggling. It's a shame that
Incredible.
PC gaming is over, but he for a brief period of time.
Well, but you know what? But he wants to apply his talent, his skill to things like artificial general intelligence, virtual reality, obviously augmented reality.
He's too old. Forget it.
Nuclear.
His day's over.
I don't know. So you watch this. Watch this.
I will.
It's very interesting. He speaks very openly about
ambitious.
that aspect.
I know he's ambitious, but
he's friends with Elon Musk. He's got a space company.
That's why. Forget it.
I'm just.
This is what happens.
Just watch.
It's like Albert Einstein. You invent relativity at the age of 22, and it's all downhill from there.
Wow. Okay. But he had an unprecedented run of technological advances.
I think it all ended when he went. He left. Was it id for Meta for
Sure.
Oculus?
Well, he went to Oculus first. I think, and Oculus was bought by Facebook,
Yeah.
which became Meta, and then
and he stayed. I don't know.
Well, he's only there. I think it's like a once a week kind of a thing for him. Is what it is. But
I think look, it's not a knock. It's just when you get older, you get other interests. You find out about girls, and forget programming.
You find out about beer and you forget everything else.
And once you own a rocket company, I doubt you're doing much coding. I'm just saying.
Yeah, probably not.
Just saying.
look, I think he has contributions to make.
I will watch it. I know. I revere him as you do. I do.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get
He
to
speaks a
this?
lot about that aging thing. One of the things he says is when he feels like he can't make contributions to advanced programming of the future type stuff, he's probably just going to go back to making games. He's
the
like,
Dave
I'll just
Cutler
do this
of
thing.
games,
Yeah.
right?
Was Cutler programming
Yeah.
well into middle age?
Oh my God,
even
well past middle age.
Very
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
like recently on Xbox.
When they
Pretty
did the
recent.
Xbox,
Yeah.
the Xbox One architecture, which is based on Hyper-V, was done by him and a team. Not him, alone, but that was he was in charge of that. That was his.
He was in his
thing,
70s,
so-
right?
Yeah, the architect of Windows NT in 1993. Flash forward 20 years later, 25 years later, whatever that was. He was still making incredible.
Does he have
I
a
think he
rocket
just-
company though?
No, he does.
No, but he does like to drive fast cars.
Oh, that's
Yes,
true.
he
The
does.
car.
He's
That's
very
true.
famous for that.
That's another thing these guys all have in common. Carmack always had Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And,
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I shouldn't. This is rude of me to say that.
No, I understand why. No, I get it, and you're right for sure. I mean, but I guess the only thing that made me kind of react a little bit to that was he literally addresses that exact topic. It's worth
good. I'll watch
listening to him. Yeah,
There's
that
hope,
part of
yes.
the interview is really
Yeah,
interesting.
there's
Yeah.
hope, yeah. Good. And all because Microsoft laid off its Modern Life Experiences team. It's kind of amazing.
Well, there's always John Carmack. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He never made any enterprise products.
No,
so
that's true.
that guy.
He reminds me a little of young Bill Gates, though. I mean, in the he, like Gates, who said, I'm going to do this in fewer lines of code, and was too, fewer lines of code.
Sure.
He was able to do and code things that everybody said, well, you can't do that.
So
Quite amazing.
two things to that. One, when you listen to him speak, he'll really remind you of Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And two, I would say Woz and Gates, for all of their brilliance, when it came to programming, had actually very short runs.
They did.
Whereas
They did.
Carmack did this for decades at a very high level.
Yeah.
And maybe somewhat unique in that capacity. I mean, he is.
Well, there you go. He could be the exception that proves the rule. Absolutely.
Woz was a burst of brilliance that today, when you look at what he did in the context of what's happening with circuitry and components, it's laughable. I mean, it was so long ago. It was incredible for the day.
Yeah, but
Gates.
There's some excuses. He got in an almost fatal plane wreck, which caused him brain damage.
Right, no, but I mean, it may. No, you're right. And Rocky Raccoon there probably could have gone a few more years.
A few more years, yeah. Gates
For sure.
just
But I mean, I
fell into a pile of money and couldn't get out.
Yeah.
And these
Right,
things
there you go.
happen.
And the Mac happened without him, and I don't think he wanted anything to do with that. That was kind of the end of that.
No, he just posted recently about playing pickleball. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Well,
It's,
he
Gates
was
did,
at great pains to say, I played pickleball back in the 90s. I was into pickleball long before it was popular. Pickleball, I read that article, was invented in Bainbridge
On the
Island.
Titanic?
No, in Bainbridge Island. And he was playing in 1995 by a dad.
Okay.
And Gates, who, remember the Gates family used to have these Olympiads, family Olympiads.
Well, as all normal families have.
Yeah, it's
Right.
like the Kennedys with their touch football.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not at all surprised that they discovered pickleball, invented just down the road, and played it in the mid-90s.
And he was Gates, so he copied it. And then,
they stole it. And Microsoft brings you World of
Here's
Pickleball.
a good idea. Let me take it.
Yeah. Age of Pickleball. You know what? After I read that article, you know what I did? I'm embarrassed to say.
You looked up
You
how to play pickleball.
I told Lisa, we should play pickleball. I airplayed to the big screen TV in the living room how to play
video,
pickleball, and then ordered a pickleball set, which has since been sitting in the mudroom waiting for us to take it somewhere. We have some.
So Gates is still an influencer. He's still got it.
He's still got it.
Next up, bridge.
Yeah. No, I've often thought I should play bridge. But
For people who think
You,
Monopoly is
Warren.
too simple and not time-consuming enough, we have this other game called Bridge that you might like.
Yeah. Gates was early on in the pickleball thing. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Like so many other
Fascinating.
things in life, he was at the leading edge.
Cutting edge. in the
Okay,
whole-
one more thing. Since you mentioned Bainbridge Island, things
Yes.
invented in the Seattle area for
Yes.
20 points, Leo. Cranium. Do you know this whole thing? The game Cranium?
The game Cranium. You get a little clay brain. Yeah.
Richard Tate, co-inventor of Cranium, just died this week, I believe.
Oh.
He also
live
used to
on
work at
Bainbridge Island?
Microsoft, right?
Did he? Oh.
I think.
That's
I think.
interesting.
Yeah. I know.
Was Cranium
You guys
still
start
a
talking
thing?
about things.
Like-
Yeah, Cranium's still a thing. Yeah.
Sure.
Look, here's a Cranium
Wow.
Cafe.
Yeah.
Hasbro purchased Cranium
Yep. He used to work at
for
Microsoft.
$77 million. Whit Alexander and Richard Tate. Wow.
Okay, we went down a giant rabbit hole on this.
Wow.
But
That was all in
Pickleball,
the notes.
I don't know if I ever
It's
played. I don't know if I ever played Cranium.
Cranium's fun.
My favorite thing
Cranium's
about
pretty
this
fun.
is we have literally concluded one topic.
I know.
know.
But
I
the
like
best
it.
topic.
The notes.
That was the best topic.
I like
Everything
it.
else
We're
was
going to get to
fast.
Windows in a little bit, but first, let's play Cranium. I wonder if there's an online Cranium. Is it like a
Cranium
trivia
is a pretty
game?
fun game.
Outrageous fun. You cruise around the board, completing activities in 4 color-coded categories. Oh, no wonder you like it. Categories: Creative Cat, Data Head, Star Performer, and Word Worm. Huh. I was wrong about. Oh no, is that where the cranium? Yeah, there's a clay cranium in there. I don't know why. Did you remember that part?
Kind of.
I'm not sure I've ever played Cranium.
Okay.
You guys
well.
haven't lived. You haven't played Cranium?
When do you play Cranium and with whom? Your neighbors? When is there a Cranium?
No.
Like
Whenever
over
we go
high
home
tea?
to
Family.
It's a family
game.
gatherings.
Yeah, it's a family game.
we do a lot of board game things
Yeah.
as a family thing.
I
I'm
like
always
that.
I'm always the one that nixes the family game time thing. You know, it's like,
Are
do you guys
you?
want to play Yahtzee or something? Like, no, I want to do
I
something
love
fun.
that stuff.
I know.
What's
we
wrong
always
with
play
you,
family
Paul?
board games. He
I
wants to
don't-
do
I can't- we don't-
first-person shooters
We don't
by
have time
himself.
for what's wrong, but I don't
That's
know.
what happens.
So you didn't sit around with the kids and play Monopoly when they were little or anything like that?
Yeah, when they were little. I'm talking about now.
Oh yeah. Now I want to have a neighborhood family game night where we all play
boy.
games.
Wow.
That'd be fun.
Call me crazy.
Yeah, I'll bring a Monopoly
I
board
think people would
downstairs
love
and
it.
see what the neighbors think.
Let me take
I just played Cornhole 2 weeks ago. I'm just going to say.
the
okay?
worst named game in history.
It is,
Not a
but a
good
fun
one.
game.
Also,
we played
It
for
used
drinks.
to be
so it
called
was fun.
Beanbag, but then
That's a better name.
that name's fine.
some fraternity
That's a way
brother
better name.
said it'd be funny if we called it Cornhole.
And it's
And then
stuck.
for some reason, the people who like this game thought nothing of that and said, sure.
You can watch it on ESPN now.
Oh, there's
Oh,
tournaments.
well, ESPN
and stuff.
8.
Yeah, there's
El
tournaments.
Ocho. The Ocho.
Yocho.
They had the Excel
Very
tournament.
good.
Did you see last weekend? They had the Masters
I
of
did,
Excel.
actually.
They did a little half-hour
I caught cornhole at ESPN at a bar on Friday night. Absolutely.
They have cornhole and Excel
do.
Excel spreadsheet solving.
Mary Jo has frozen, by the way.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was going to go to a break.
Frozen?
We'll unfreeze Mary Jo, and while we unfreeze Mary Jo, guess what I'm going to do? Talk about Cranium. No,
Talk about Cranium.
no. I'm going to talk about MeMo monitors. I had to practice MeMo monitors in my before the show to make sure I could say this, because I got to say it right. It's very important. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Unify Meeting from MeMo Monitors. Unify Meeting from MeMo Monitors, the global experts in video conferencing solutions. Sure, it's hard to say, but it's easy to remember because it's the best when you're working in the office or where you're working remotely, or if you're hybrid. Unify simplifies your work by combining your favorite video conferencing solution. So you're saying, no, I already use Zoom. No, you could still use Zoom or Teams or Google Meet. It combines them all into one reliable, universal user interface. See, we have this problem here. Everybody's, like I talked to Premier Networks, they use Teams. Our sales department uses Google Meet. We use Zoom. Now, with Unify Meeting, I have an intuitive software solution that simplifies my work life by combining all my favorite video conferencing solutions into one reliable, universal interface, eliminating the hassle, saving you time. No longer do you have to say, okay, what meeting software do I have to launch and update now? And honestly, the time is right because we are all spending more time on video calls. I thought maybe this would end like when people came back to work. No, in fact, it's more than ever, right? More than ever. But you got to figure out where to click on the screen. Invariably, because I'm used to Zoom, I will hang up on a Meet call the minute I start because I think that button is to turn on the mic, and then it's to hang up. It's so frustrating. And if you've ever been on a Google Meet call with me, you know that I join the call and then I disappear because I always press the wrong button. Unify solves this. Unify Meeting from MeMo Monitors. Love this. The buttons and commands are always in the same place no matter what you're using, Zoom, Teams, or Meet. Whether you're working full-time in the office, remotely, or hybrid, Unify keeps your video conferencing simple and intuitive. You can navigate between meetings easily without worrying, keeping track of which app I have to use or which commands I have to use. It's always on your desktop and never in your way. By the way, I love this too. Unify Meeting, and this is the other thing I often have to do, is open my calendar, find the meeting, click the button, blah, blah, blah. Unify Meeting displays your calendar at all times. So you see what your next meeting is. You see what's upcoming. Then when it's time for a meeting, you tap the calendar invite, boom. The app opens the video conference call in the appropriate, tool in a standardized format, a UI that you already know how to use. You don't have to manually open up video conferencing software. You don't have to dig through your calendar. It's all there. In fact, I think best practices, get a second monitor. That's what I do, a second or third display. So you put Unify on that. It's always there. It's kind of nice because you always have your calendar. If you do more than a few meetings a day, you really need to do this. And for added accessibility, you could still see the video conferencing application's original UI on the primary screen. So if you say, well, but I need to dig into the settings of Zoom to do this or that, fine, that's there. Unify's there. You're set. Unify runs on Windows. It's PC compatible. It only costs $35.88 for a whole year. This is so convenient. They probably could charge $10 a month, $20 a month, but nope, the whole year, $35.88. And this is why you're going to want to get that second monitor. It comes with any MeMo monitors display. So if you're buying a MeMo, now you got it, right? Go out, get MeMo monitors display, and Unify comes with it. So try Unify for your team at work. Try it for yourself. UnifyMeeting.com. 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 And there's even more. Use the offer code WW for 25% off a year's subscription, or get one of those cool MeMo 7-inch displays and get 25% off that. You might want to get two. Simplify with Unify. Thank you, Unify and MeMo monitors. We really are thrilled to have this solution. UnifyMeeting.com. Don't forget the offer code WW for 25% off. This is good stuff.
Also nailed it, by the way.
What?
You did.
On the pronunciation.
The tongue twister. It was such a tongue twister.
I had to practice before the show. Unify Meeting from MeMo monitors. Unify Meeting from MeMo monitors. Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Yep.
Unify Meeting from MeMo. But I know about MeMo. I've known about MeMo for a long time. But this is a cool, 1-2 punch for the video conferencing crowd. All right, on we go with the show.
Indeed.
I have to leave now Edge and go back to Firefox for the notes. Don't ask. It's complicated. You know what? If I had a memo monitor here. Insider preview, release preview, channel preview for Windows 11
Yep.
preview is out.
What you just said is more intelligent than what I'm about to add. So, yeah. So there have been 3 builds of Windows 11 released to the Insider Preview channel over the past couple of days. So Microsoft released but did not document a new build for the Windows 11 Insider Preview release preview channel, which is a newer build of what will become 22H2. There's no documentation. Like I said, there's actually a support page with the EKB article at 404s. I can't tell you what's in it. I'm not in the release preview unless I'm traveling, but no one seems to know what's going on there. So whether it has anything new in it or not, nobody seems to know. So not yet. But then today, Microsoft
all of a
what am I
sudden,
doing here?
out of nowhere.
I don't have a keyboard. I'm trying to use my hands. I use keyboards for everything. So the keyboard for everything. So there are new builds of the there are new builds for the dev and beta channels. And if you're familiar with these, you know beta gets 2 builds depending on who you are. The dev channel is further changes to File Explorer tabs. That navigation update we talked about probably last week, where you can middle click now to open in a new tab, and I guess that's finally gone out to everybody. They're playing around with search results, how that works when you use the find function there. And then the beta group, this is kind of the more interesting one in a way. Same thing, 2 different builds depending on whether you're enabled or not, right? And oh, actually, I'm sorry. This is the one that has the middle click. So apparently everyone's getting the middle click in the beta channel now. So that will, I guess that means it's coming in 22H2. I think that's what that means.
What's the middle click?
So so if you have a version of File Explorer that supports tabs, you can middle click. So in other words, right now, actually, I'm not even sure right now. I don't have it in front of me. So I would imagine right now, you could right click on an item in the navigation pane or wherever in File Explorer and choose open a new tab. But if you have a mouse that has a middle, like a scroll wheel button, you can just click that on the item and it will open it in a new tab.
Hello, Sriracha. Oh, no, that's a mouse. I thought it was Sriracha.
I'm being Vanna White. Mouse click.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's I learned this in Tech TV. The thing is, you stroke, you have to kind of stroke it with your hand.
I just realized, by the way, how lost I am without a keyboard. And
how come you don't have a keyboard, Paul?
Because I bought the stand that was going to put the mic over the keyboard, but I have to use boxes, so the keyboard's off to the side. And I literally, it was on Friday, I recorded an episode of Hands on Windows about keyboard shortcuts. I go to town on keyboard shortcuts. Like, I use keyboards for everything. And it not being here is like, it's like someone's forcing me to use my left hand for everything. It just feels...
It's weird.
Wrong. It's weird. Yeah. Sorry. So that's what's happening. I keep wanting to, switch between Zoom and the web browser and the notes, and because I do that with my hand, and my hand's over here twitching like something's horribly wrong because something is horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So
eventually,
I need to ask you something else besides the middle click. So Dev Channel today, the Dev Channel build, everybody got the new navigation in File Explorer and the tabs in File Explorer. So this thing is in Dev Channel still, right? So this is in Dev Channel, right? It's not in beta. It's not in release preview, right? And so we're getting closer to the rollout of Windows 11 22H2. So I'm guessing this is not going to be in there, right? Like at this point.
So here's the thing that's weird about that. So I mentioned that in the beta channel, if you do have tabs, everyone gets the middle click thing now. What? How are those?
So why would that even? Like, is the thing already in? Wait, is it in beta? Like, is tabs File Explorer tabs in beta?
I guess it must be, right? That suggests that it is.
I've lost the plot.
I know. I can't. Right. This is the thing. I think they do this to make us crazy, and I think that it's almost like, I think we're being followed. Let's drive in a weird way so no one knows where we're going. That's the strategy at the Windows Insider program now. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Like I said, Leo did his thing up front. I said, what I'm about to say is going to be a lot less intelligent because it's really hard to understand what the heck they're doing. It's so weird.
And then I think you have this in the notes. Yesterday was Patch Tuesday, and so they rolled out a Windows 11 release preview build, right? But there were no notes anywhere for that build. And there still aren't, right?
Yeah, so that's the one where they actually have a KB article for it, and it comes up 404.
Right. So what's in it?
I know. I don't know.
I know.
I do
and
not
why
know.
is it coming up 404, right?
Listen, I think it was a week ago where they had released a build to whatever channel. I'm not going to remember that.
Yeah.
But they didn't put up a blog post, and everyone was kind of freaking out. And they were like, guys, relax.
Everybody
Sometimes
flipped.
it's delayed.
I know.
Yeah, but the blog post came out 2 hours later. This time they released a build on Tuesday, and it's Wednesday now, and there's still no blog post. And I haven't looked in the past 5 minutes, but that blog, the KB article is still coming up 404.
It is.
The release is out there. They released it.
I wondered if maybe tabs for File Explorer was in it, and they didn't want it to be known that it. I'm just throwing that out there because I can't figure out why they did that.
I'm on some version of 22H2 everywhere, including on this PC right now, and I can tell you I don't have tabs.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You don't have it.
I just don't know. I have it on one PC.
Well, now after today, you'll have it. You'll have it if you have Dev Channel as of today. Right.
I'm trying not to use Dev Channel too much because I want to.
Okay.
Think about the book, obviously.
Do the book, right? Yeah.
I wanted to match what people are actually going to see, and I haven't. Actually, I haven't written the File Explorer chapter yet, but I'm not going to include tabs. Not yet because I can't trust it.
No, and then I keep having this weird feeling that the way they're doing the preview thing in the beta channel with 2 builds every time simultaneously, features on, features off. I'm like, this might be the way that they're going to push the File Explorer tabs thing. Like Windows 22H 11, 22H2 comes out, then you get an enablement package, and then it'll bring the file tabs thing to you.
That is the most horrific thing I've ever heard, and thus I believe that it is true.
I wonder. I just wonder. I'm glad I put it in your mind so that you can be thinking about it.
That's exactly what they're going to do. Yeah, it's exactly. They're like, based on the success of this testing in the Windows Insider program, we've decided to inflict it on the rest of the planet. Yeah, I could see that. Yep.
Yeah. Maybe. You like it though. You want the tabs and the new navigation, don't you? You don't think it's bad.
I'll never. I don't think it's bad. Okay. This is. Look, there are many features that fall into this category where it doesn't impact me. But I completely understand why people want it. I'm all for it for that reason. I'll never use it. I will never use tabs. I like it. Remember, I didn't really think. I think it was File Manager back in the Windows 3X. No, but before that, File Manager supported multiple. It was an an MDI application, so you could have multiple views in the app, and then people were like, "It's great because you can drag and drop between them." Mm-hmm. And I don't. That's not the way my brain works. I'd rather have 2 windows and drag and drop between those. Yeah, and that's what File Explorer, what used to be called probably Windows Explorer and Windows 95, whatever it was called, and it became File Explorer over time. That's the way it's always worked. And by the way, tabs does not solve that problem. You can't easily or ever, I don't think, drag and drop between 2 tabs anyway. You're going to want to have 2 windows open. So I don't begrudge it. Like I said, I completely understand people want it. It's fine. Yeah. I will never use it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Boy, I can't believe we spent 10 minutes talking about that.
I know. I thought we were going to blow through that.
I know.
That's what this show is so great about: obsessive details.
And we still have 3 more items under Windows we haven't even covered yet.
I know, this is crazy.
So
let's blow through this. We got this.
Okay, Package Manager.
Yeah, we can blow through this.
Right,
go.
So Windows Package Manager is this awful thing that Microsoft stole from somebody and then released. And it's called WinGet, right? So 1.3 came out this week. It is... The big thing here, there's a couple of different things, but I think the big one that everyone needs to know about is it supports portable apps. And those are those apps that just kind of a standalone, you click and run, it runs. And they actually kind of install something on your computer. So WinGet will understand those apps, will uninstall them correctly if that's what you're doing. They will appear in apps and features like other normal apps, that kind of thing. So this thing is, I think I want to say it came out a year ago build. Probably, so May 2021. So we're on version 1.3, and this is that. It's WinGet is what it is. So
yep.
So that's WinGet. See, we can go quick.
That was easy.
I know we can. Yep.
painless, like pulling off a Band-Aid. Microsoft bought a company called Clipchamp sometime in the past year. We all
Mimo
asked,
monitors.
what the heck is Clipchamp?
Yeah, I love
What's
that.
a Clipchamp? So Clipchamp is the kind of modern replacement for Windows Movie Maker. As I think I talked about this a few months ago. It's actually pretty great, by the way. The two downsides there were three downsides in the beginning. The first thing they had right up front was you had to pay to get most of the features, including 1080p output, which was crazy. Microsoft quickly fixed that. So 1080p output is available to everybody, including free users. There's no 4K output, by the way, even if you pay. But they had 3 paid tiers, which is like one, so now they have one paid tier. And the paid stuff is basically, premium filters and effects, stock audio, images and effects, cloud-based backup of your project, so it doesn't have to all be on a single computer, which, is something I feel like they could easily integrate with OneDrive, but whatever. Branding for people that actually have small businesses that want to put, logos on their videos and so forth. But, it's $12 a month. So, in the scheme of things, like when you think like something like Microsoft 365 Family is less than $10 a month, right? It's a kind of a weird extra price. I also feel like this is something that Microsoft 365 subscribers should just get for free. I don't understand how they're charging for this. So it's gotten a little better. But I'll just say this again. If you have not even light, if you have video editing needs, you look at the really complicated stuff that's out in the world. DaVinci Resolve, is that the right name? DaVinci, whatever the DaVinci product is.
Yeah,
Resolve is incredibly powerful, super complicated. Or even something like Adobe Premiere. It's free, right? It's free, but it's complicated. Like this product actually, for the types of videos that I would make, which admittedly are basic, works fine. It does everything I need. It works great. If you have any, it's worth looking at. But you'll have, you store all your stuff on your computer, like I think most people would anyway. And you make a project, you export it, you can put it on YouTube or wherever, TikTok,
There's
whatever.
definitely a market for that. It's like iMovie.
Definitely a market.
Yeah.
Yes. My movie is a vastly superior product, but $11.99 a month is tough. I keep trying to touch the keyboard. I get the time there. I'm done.
It's like a phantom keyboard.
It really is. I keep hitting the box that the microphone's on because that's where the key would be. That is really strange.
So we had a reader, Paul and I did today, Jason Dean on Twitter, ask us, do you guys think they'll make this available to businesses, right? And make it part of Microsoft 365 commercial subscriptions. If you go back and look at the announcement when Microsoft bought Clipchamp, they hint that they were going to do that, right? Like they say, it makes a lot of sense for education, for business, for this, for that, but they haven't done it yet.
It's weird though. It costs a lot more than Microsoft Office.
Yeah,
that's the point.
We were just saying that.
I mean, that's crazy.
I know it doesn't even make sense.
I think,
right?
I
think they will. I think they will do it. I think the thing that's taking time is they have Microsoft account integration, but what they don't have yet is AAD integration, and that's a trickier thing to do because it's they have all the different organizations with all the different needs and so forth. So I do. I think this is it. I think this is coming.
Now, you know what else? They also have a product called Microsoft Stream, which is their video solution for enterprises and for commercial
and it should integrate
accounts.
with that. And that could be where you store your stuff. Yeah,
but right now, those two things are not connected in any way at all.
Right.
They have nothing to do with each other.
This is a fairly recent acquisition, right? So
it is.
They've added it to Windows 11. Like I said, it works great. Integrates with Microsoft accounts. Cool. They do have a thing they'll charge you for if you want that, whatever. I think it's too expensive, but okay, fine.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to pay for that kind of thing. They're going to look at Adobe. They're going to look at other solutions. But okay, whatever. They have the right to try.
Yeah.
I think enterprise integration is tough, and I think they're going to do it. I think it just takes time. So I do think they'll get there.
Yeah. And then our last item, equally
compelling. I cannot believe you wrote about this.
Here.
I cannot believe.
This is how slow the summer is right now. I wrote an article today about emoji. Yep, I did. The reason this is interesting is Microsoft is, quote, I'm using quotes on this, open sourcing almost their entire 3D emoji library. I'm using quotes because I wanted to ask Leo about this specifically.
Right.
If they say something is open sourced and you don't have to give it back to the community, is it really open sourced? Like if you use it and you, like say you take Microsoft's open sourced version of their 3D emoji.
Yeah.
You customize it or you do something to it.
Oh,
and
then you don't
you have to give that back to the community? And that gets complicated, right? Because what does that look like with something that's Unicode based? They put this under an MIT license, so that's an open source license. They put it on GitHub. They also are making it available on Figma. By the way, one of the emoji, there's 3 emoji you don't get, and Clippy is one of them. So if you wanted to customize your paperclip, I'm really sorry, you cannot.
So let me take a stab at answering that. I'm just going to guess because Leo will know how this works. But when I think about open sourcing software project, it's about the code, right? In other words, you make code enhancements to something. You're supposed to give that back to the community, to the originator.
Right. But this isn't the code.
We're talking.
Right?
That's not the code. You're talking about editing an emoji to come up with your own emoji. That's a different kind of, I don't know what to call it, intellectual property. I don't know if open source licensing
covers
matters there. Then maybe Leo would know. I don't know.
So I asked about this. I asked Microsoft because I was confused. I'm like, so wait, can this actually technically be called open sourcing this? And they said it's a step on the way to fully open sourcing it. I'm like, okay, so I think that means no.
It's a step on the way. If it's a step on the way, why did you call it open sourcing?
Yeah. So I didn't, in my article, I tried to avoid using the word open source just because I know people who care about open source are very particular about this. And I don't want to run afoul of the open sourcing police. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
Anyway, so if you want to play around with the 3D emoji, Microsoft put it on GitHub. It's in Figma. You can customize it to your heart's content and make your own cool versions of 3D emoji if you're really into that kind of thing. Enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we move on.
Yeah. All right.
So Microsoft released version 104 of the Edge web browser. This was a minor one. Of course, these things come out every 4 weeks now, so there aren't going to be too many big bang releases. But I don't use Edge, some normal. But I'm curious, the big change is a basic setting for Edge's enhanced security mode. Yeah, I don't even know.
So that was remember super duper mode in Edge? Do you remember that? This is what this is, right?
Okay.
Yeah. This is a new setting that's part of super duper mode. That my understanding of it is not frequently visited websites will get a basic setting. And other websites.
We're going to feel them out a little bit and see how it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's more interesting than you thought.
Yeah. No, let's go look at that, actually. That is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
This was a controversial topic, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, somewhere in there. A security researcher, I'll call him, I think it was doing an audit of DuckDuckGo's tracker blocking technologies and discovered they're not blocking Microsoft. That can't be right.
Yeah.
And it was right. And they had to kind of come out and say, we have this agreement with Microsoft because we partner with them on search where we're not allowed to block Microsoft trackers, right? So Microsoft has what we call third-party trackers, just like Google and Facebook and other companies. And DuckDuckGo blocks everything but Microsoft. So they announced this past week that their browser and their browsers, I should say, they have several different browsers, and their web browser extensions will, in fact, by now, I think, do block the Microsoft trackers. So that's good. But, I made a switch to the Brave web browser a couple months ago, I think. And I have never regretted that. This browser, there's a little DuckDuckGo kind of alluded to Brave. It said it has better blocking than any mainstream browser. I think that was a little dig at Brave because Brave absolutely has better.
Brave's not mainstream. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So I think I'm comfortable where I am, but I guess if you are a DuckDuckGo user, and I don't have anything against them, but it will be.
It's better. They should have said something.
They should have.
Now,
instead of being caught, right?
Yeah.
That looks bad.
And now they're even being kind of, it's only 0.025% of all the. It's like, it's kind of weaselly.
No,
it's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use
also don't
Brave.
appreciate is people have defended them and said, well, it was a secret agreement. You know, they couldn't say anything. What are you talking about? Like what? Like that's crazy. Yeah, we're not. You're marketing yourself as a company that is about security and privacy and literally about blocking trackers. And you've made an agreement with a company that makes trackers.
Yeah.
And you're not going to tell anybody about that?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not cool.
it's an issue.
Not a good
That's
look.
not
Not a good look.
Yeah.
Not cool, man. Not cool.
Anyway, but they fixed it. So, but
Yeah.
so they promise they will never have an agreement like that. They don't have any other agreements like that, and they will never make
Ever
it.
again.
Okay. All right. If you
Hand in
insist.
hand, we apologize.
Happy birthday,
And-
OneDrive. It's time to get the cake.
So I've been traveling. So this happened while I was traveling. I have to really think about this. Maybe Mary Jo knows. Does this 15th anniversary thing include the SkyDrive era? Or are we pretending that OneDrive is something
wonder.
different?
Oh, that's a good
I
point.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It wasn't
I
always
actually don't know.
OneDrive, was it? It was
Right,
SkyDrive
right.
before then.
SkyDrive.
It must
Whatever.
because
So-
15 years, like that's a long time, right? It has to include
Yeah,
that, I would
I
think.
feel like SkyDrive integration was a thing as recently as Windows 7 and maybe even Windows 8. Maybe.
Let me check the Wikipedia.
I know. Me too. That's what I'm doing. I'm like,
Launched
Yeah,
in
look it up.
August
So-
2007.
2007.
That's 15 years.
I think as SkyDrive, right?
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
the question. I
It's
don't know.
Well,
Actually,
Yeah. Shortly,
it could have
okay,
even
on
been
August
something
1st,
else. Windows Live
2007.
folders, it
No,
could
the
have been-
service. Yeah, so it was Windows Live
Yeah.
folders. Provided as a limited beta to available to a few testers in the U.S. This is according to Wikipedia. On August
this is the Ray
1st,
Ozzie era, by the way.
it was
So
expanded
there were
to
other things at Microsoft.
a
that did the
wider
same thing.
audience. On August 9th, it was renamed Windows Live SkyDrive. That's is that iambic pentameter? I think it is, and made available to testers in the U.S. In the UK and India.
yeah.
Okay, so yes, this is the SkyDrive era, but not the Windows Live. Well, yeah, I guess the Windows Live
Yeah,
folders
I guess it's
era.
the whole thing, right? So, okay, it's fine. I think the big hiccup for them, other than that branding issue they had with that German company over Sky, was. Oh no, that was not a German company. That's a UK company. The German company was the Metro thing. It doesn't.
Oh,
matter.
was
Anyway,
it?
the
Was
point
it
is-
Sky TV that they had a
It
falling
was.
out with?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yes.
'cause they own Sky. They own
Wow.
the Sky.
SkyDrive was
Sky.
updated to Wave 4 release on June 7th, 2010.
Right. So the thing people probably forget, I think the biggest problem they ever had, and I think it was with the original release of Windows 10, was they dropped support for what we now call files on demand
Yeah.
because they discovered a huge problem with the algorithms that were doing it in Windows 8. And people were freaking out. So there was maybe a 1 year period, maybe a year and a half where that didn't exist. But today, with files on demand, you can go in and arbitrarily sync with the cloud. I want these files or these folders to always be on the PC. They'll always stay up to date, that kind of thing. Honestly, that stuff works fantastic. I rely on this every day. It works great.
So they settled with Sky TV July 13th, July 31st, 2013. So 9 years ago.
Wow.
And they rebranded it to OneDrive 9 years ago.
Okay. So it's been OneDrive longer than any of the other brands.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not much.
Yeah.
Actually, it was finally officially OneDrive in February 2014. It's been 8 years. So it's only really been, not even quite just a little more than half the time it's been OneDrive. It's half the time. It's weird because in the U.S. copyright law, if you're in different businesses,
Right. You can
don't-
use the same name,
you can use
right?
the same name.
Yeah.
And I don't see how Sky UK. But this
Listen,
is a
no
British
one
court,
understood
so-
this.
Yeah.
Their argument was they were getting into internet services at the time.
Oh, so
Oh.
And they said, you guys, we might want to offer our own cloud-based storage service, and you guys can't call it that. I think that's what was happening.
Yeah.
I think whatever they had at the time was either non-existent or just kind of nascent or whatever, but that was the issue, and I can't believe they didn't fight that. But I like OneDrive though. I like like now to me, SkyDrive seems a little antiquated as a brand. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyhow,
OneDrive's
it's
good.
50
OneDrive's a
years
good
old.
name. Like it. Yep.
And they're redesigning the homepage on the web. If anyone, God help you, uses SkyDrive.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, I very rarely
use
go to the
OneDrive on the web. You know me. I use all the web apps.
It's where I store my notepad files.
You know when I use it is when
is.
I don't want to install OneDrive on a machine, but I want to access the files.
Exactly.
It's nice to have a web interface.
It is.
Well, you guys are crazy.
What? All right.
It works fine.
boy.
It's fine.
It's fine, man.
I'm sure it's fine.
Can I do a little mention, commercial mention here, and then
You say intervention? Is that
intervention with the commercial mention, and then we will continue on with our fabulous folks, Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. Pressing the button. John, pressing the button, but it won't get rid of the album art. So it's going to be if I go and I do this, is it going to be? It made it go away. Okay, so you did something clever, did you? Our show today brought to you. You clever lads. They're always changing the macros on me. By the way, there's another thing that's happening. Every time I go outside, the coffee machine is moved. I think they don't want me to find coffee. That's why I wasn't here.
I love that you're actually talking about this. I won't go into this, but I literally just had this conversation with my wife. I think everything has changed. And am I on candid camera? Like, what's happening? I just had this moment this morning. Anyway, go on.
Stuff gets moved.
Yeah. Yep. It's like someone's screwing with it.
It feels like somebody's screwing with it. We have a variety of devices. We have a kettle to boil water. We have a very nice Breville espresso machine, which at some point Aunt Pruitt's definitely going to steal. We have a Ely capsule espresso brewer, and we have a one of those other the big capsule espresso, not an espresso, but the other guys. Keurig. We have a Keurig machine. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of ways to make coffee, by the way. We got
and they're shuffling, right? Where they screw around with the guy and they make his shoes smaller and they change the lock and that's what it's like.
It's like, okay, where'd the pea go? They're moving it around.
Yeah, you walk around, you're like, do.
I know my coffee maker's here somewhere.
Yeah, I just had this conversation.
Is this happening in Mexico?
Yeah. Yep, I'm convinced my wife is secretly working to usurp me.
She's gaslighting you, Paul.
Yep.
The coffee machine.
No, I deserve it for sure, but I'm just, I'm questioning my sanity.
Paul, we're not in Mexico right now. We're back in beautiful local country.
The walls fall down and I'm in Pennsylvania. What the hell's going on?
Wouldn't that be funny?
Why is this so cool?
It's the Truman Show.
I want to do that. I'm going to talk to Stephanie. We're going to get you. You're going to wake up.
So on board.
You're going to wake up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Go to sleep.
The dog's licking my face, and I'm like, "What's the dog doing in Mexico?"
I love it. All right. Anyway, let's get back to work. Our show today brought to you by SecureWorks. SecureWorks, you know the name, I'm sure. They're a subsidiary of Dell. That might give you a little, even more confidence in SecureWorks. What would happen, Paul, if an intruder broke into your home and moved in without you knowing it? Sneaking around, eating your food, moving your coffee machine around, using your Netflix account. Okay, now that's kind of ridiculous. You would notice it in your home, but what if an intruder is doing the same thing in your IT infrastructure? Would you notice it? How many passwords could they get before you found them? How many systems could they damage or degrade? How many pieces of personal or financial data could they steal? Threat actors often hide in plain sight in IT systems, on average more than 200 days before anyone knows they're there. Imagine a person in your house moving your coffee machine around for more than 6 months. What happens when stopping at the endpoint is stopping your ability to properly defend your infrastructure? That's when SecureWorks Taegis Extended Detection and Response, XDR, comes in. It enables a more comprehensive and effective security posture than ever before. One unified, singular point of view providing unparalleled visibility. It's like the eye of Sauron. You see everything. It's extensible. It follows data moving beyond the perimeter helps organizations unify their prevention, their detection, their response. It mitigates the issue of siloed security solutions. That's the worst. That leave coverage gaps. I know what's going on there. I know what's going on there, but what's happening there? And of course, you got a gap. The adversary is going to leverage it. By organizing multiple point solutions, creating one unified and clear picture of your infrastructure, Taegis XDR can help teams prevent threats effectively and detect them rapidly and respond appropriately. SecureWorks. SecureWorks is the name to remember. It meets customers where they are with managed XDR. You get a SaaS solution that can leverage the SecureWorks experts whenever you need them, 24/7, 365. They can help investigate and respond to threats on your behalf so you can cut dwell times, decrease operational burden, and reduce costs. You know, some customers, some big companies are obviously going to have their own huge security team, and they can do their own XDR by themselves with minimal contact with experts. But in most cases, companies like ours, small to medium-sized companies, have a shortage of security talent. And you will really appreciate the help of SecureWorks to manage and monitor any potential threats to your environment. That's what managed XDR can do for you. It's really great. SecureWorks provides fast emergency response with their experts. You've got chat. You have incident commanders working on your behalf to find the root cause and clear up all the holes to prepare you for future threats. If your organization experiences a breach or a cyber attack, there is no time to spare. In fact, let me give you a number anybody can use right now, 1-800-BREACHED. Put that on a Post-it note. Write that down. Tell everybody in your organization, 1-800-BREACHED. Because the minute you see a breach, the clock starts ticking. Now, fast action makes all the difference. You want to call that number. 1-800-BREACHED, whether you're a SecureWorks customer or not. SecureWorks Emergency Incident Response Team can provide you immediate assistance, whether you're a customer or not, responding to and remediating a possible cyber incident or data breach 24/7. Now, I wouldn't wait to become a SecureWorks customer, but it's nice to know, you know, if between now and the time you talk to SecureWorks, something you say, there's somebody in here, eek a mouse, you can call 1-800-BREACHED. SecureWorks offers a purpose-built XDR solution designed to answer today's evolving security challenges, optimized by machine learning and deep detection capabilities, but refined through human intelligence. You can't beat human intelligence, and insights earned over decades of experience. A Gartner, Forrester, and IDC leader in security operations, SecureWorks empowers organizations with the collaborative and innovative security solutions required to achieve strong security in an evolving digital world. You want these guys on your team. You want them on your team, backing you up. At SecureWorks, you can learn more about the way today's threat environment is evolving, the risks it can present to your organization, including case studies, reports from their counter threat unit, and more. It's kind of like you got SEAL Team 6 out there waiting to leap into action for you. Go to secureworks.com/twit. Get a free trial of Taegis XDR. I think this is the best way to do it. Secureworks.com/twit. And don't forget, 1-800-BREACHED. And SecureWorks is on it like that. And they do not waste time because every minute counts at that point. SecureWorks, defending every corner of cyberspace. We're very proud to have them as a sponsor of Windows Weekly. So make sure you use that URL so they know you saw it here. Secureworks.com/twit. Thank you, SecureWorks.
So you made me laugh several times during that. But I have to say, I especially appreciate that you made the Eye of Sauron aspirational in some way.
Believe me, if you're dealing with hackers, you want the Eye of Sauron, right? You want what do they call that orb? You want that.
The Palantir.
The Palantir. You want that. Actually, the name Palantir, somebody already took it to spy on us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter Thiel. But you get the idea. And if you're spying on bad guys, believe me, you want to know everything going on. So, Paul, the next time the coffee maker moves, 1-800-BREACHED. I'm just telling you.
Nice.
I need
I've been
something
breached.
a little And I think it's my wife. The breach is coming from inside the house.
Coming from inside the house. It'd be funny if they said, "Get out, get out."
Yeah. No, you need a marriage counselor. I don't think we can help.
SecureWorks does not do that. No. Already, people are very excited in the Mac world about Visual Studio 2022, the new Mac version. Also, the new Windows version out.
Yep.
Tell me
My
about
favorite thing about Visual Studio is that they have 2 version numbers. It's 2022 and version 17.3.
Oh.
So this arrived this week, along with a bunch of other .NET milestones I decided not to go into detail about. But for example, .NET 7 is at Preview 7. The next release is the release candidate. It will be shipped probably in November this year. There's a bunch of things around that, Entity Framework, Unity Entity Framework, whatever else. There's a bunch of .NET stuff happening. But the big news to me is this new release of Visual Studio, with which the biggest addition to is MAUI support. So .NET MAUI. Previously, you had to download a separate version of preview release of Visual Studio to get that support. Now it's built into the mainstream, publicly available version of Visual Studio. So you can create cross-platform apps that run on Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS. So.
Woohoo!
Look at it.
MAUI is what?
Oh, the
Xamarin
multi-app UI.
That's the new name for
something.
Xamarin. Okay.
Yeah, the new
Okay.
Xamarin. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've solved all the problems.
I wonder if there's a lot of
Yeah.
.NET development on Mac OS.
I wonder about this a lot myself. I think the .NET user base, meaning like the developer base, has actually gone up a lot over
Yeah.
the past few years.
Well,
I think
it's a good cross-platform choice, right?
Yep. It's
Yeah.
interesting how it's evolved into that, right? That's not what it was, 20 whatever years ago.
I used to eschew it. If a app was a .NET app, I would say, wow, I'm not going to go there. I'm
Wow.
not going to go there. But now,
Yeah,
it's
they've
different.
improved things a lot.
Yeah.
I honestly, one of the most awful things about updating Windows through Windows Update over I'm talking a 12 or 15-year period,
Yeah.
was those .NET framework updates.
Right.
Yep.
Those things
Every
always took
5
forever,
minutes.
right?
Separate and separately
so
every time.
annoying.
Crazy. A different one for every version.
I
Yeah,
think
they-
it was
they
kind of
really-
the Electron of its day, in a way.
these-
That's a mean thing to say,
Yes.
I know, but
That
No,
is.
But it's
they've
gotten
done,
better.
They've done well by it.
Yeah.
They've done well by it. So good for them. Mary Jo, I have to tell you, I know you're looking at the notes and you're thinking, oh my God.
that's like
I'm
8
gonna go-
Xbox
I'm gonna
updates.
walk around the block. I have time.
You know what?
Cool
I haven't had
shopping.
lunch yet, so there's time. I've got time.
Well, listen, I'm going to blow through this because honestly,
Really? Okay.
most of this
Let's
is
go.
not time.
The
consuming.
stopwatch is ticking. Let's
Oh,
go.
let's see if I can slow him down.
Lightning
Mary Jo.
round.
I'm going to try to slow him down. I'm just going to see what I can do. All right, go ahead, Paul.
All right. So, sorry, I'm very slow today because of the whole keyboard thing.
Oh,
All right,
keyboard.
So,
He's got a Phantom
one
keyboard.
thing that,
Yeah.
it's if only I had a keyboard. If only my brain had a keyboard. If only my keyboard had a brain. Anyway, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate right now is $14.99 per month. So in my family, for example, my son's paying for his own actually. So we pay for 2 subscriptions. That's a lot of money, right? For 2 people that
Why
want
do
to
you pay
access
for
this.
2 subscriptions?
Because you have to have one for each individual.
Oh, so
So I
you,
have
you
one
and
for
Mark
myself.
have one.
Have separate.
I'm not
accounts, right?
thinking,
So we-
I don't think the ladies, Kelly and Stephanie, don't have one.
Oh no, they could. They don't even know. In fact, my wife will occasionally say, "Is this bill correct?" Because that seems like a lot of money. I'm like,
That's why
I wish I could pay once per year.
a private charge card for my private charges.
No, there's nothing better as a married person than being confronted by things that are on
Is
the
this for
bill.
games that you're? Is this games?
Just
It's your therapy. Just tell it's your therapy.
No, yeah. And I bet you Stephanie and is just like Lisa. They go, fine, whatever, go ahead, enjoy.
Yeah.
We're just
No,
we're just
but the big
having
concern these
fun.
days is like double billing of things. Like she'll come to me sometimes and be like, "I just want to make sure this is fine," and it's like, "Yeah, it's a whatever," and she's like,
Yeah. So you double
She doesn't
bill.
like pay
You're being
attention.
double billed for Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, so obviously, when you think about things like sharing an Xbox, which is a little tedious within a house, and what does that look like if my son lives in New York, which is really difficult, and wouldn't it be neat if there was some kind of a sharing thing? So there's been call for an Xbox Game Pass family plan. It looks like they're only going to do it with Ultimate, which is the most expensive one. They're testing it right now in Colombia and Ireland, of course, because I don't know why, but that's where they're testing it. they're not talking about the cost. And this is, I think, where it's going to get tricky because back in the day, the only amount of money you'd be spending every year on Xbox, for subscriptions was Xbox Live Gold, which was $60 a year, but realistically it was more like $30 to $45 because you could have sales and get, cards for lower prices and so forth. These days, you're looking at $9.99 a month for Xbox Game Pass on PC or console, or $14.99 for Ultimate. What would an Ultimate family plan look at? It's gonna have to be $20 a month or more, right? So we'll see what that looks like, but that would still be a savings. If it's less money, I would consider doing it. So looking forward to that happening for sure, because that is something my son and I would definitely share. And then this also impacts me because I use an Xbox Series S. Among the limitations of the Xbox Series S compared to the Xbox Series X is it has less RAM. It's 10 gigabytes of RAM compared to 16 for the higher end version of the console. And PlayStation 5 also has 16 gigs. So Microsoft has figured out a way to give an additional, they're calling it hundreds of additional megabytes of memory are now available to Xbox Series S developers. So when you're making a game that targets this console, you can actually have more RAM, which of course makes games run better or faster or whatever. So that's actually kind of a big deal. So a lot of people kind of think like Xbox Series S isn't really a next gen console. Brad and I were talking about this the other day. They could have released this thing 2 years ago now, called it the next gen console, would have been very competitive. It wouldn't have been the fastest and the best, right? They would have lost that part of it. And then they could have released Series X this year as it is, and it would have been seen as a huge improvement. But, that's not what they did. So I find Xbox Series S is perfect for my needs, which of course is playing old versions of Call of Duty. Anywho, Microsoft tipped me off to this a month ago, but now they're gone public with it. They are going to appear live at the Gamescom trade show in Cologne, Germany. The first time since 2019.
Forget E3, we're going to Germany.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of those for some reason type stories. I'm not sure the world is ready for an in-person conference, but hey, have fun with that.
It's over. Do you know? Didn't get the memo. It's over. COVID's over.
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah. So
do you feel now? You've had COVID, as have I. We've both had the latest COVID.
Yep.
Do you feel now like? Do you say, well, okay, I didn't die?
No, I don't because. Well, yeah, I do say that. So I was really nervous about COVID in the beginning because I have this history with high altitude pulmonary edema. And if there was ever a virus designed, tailor-made to take me down, it was this thing.
SARS. Yeah, it's a sudden.
Yep. And so I didn't want to get COVID. COVID has evolved, so it's a lot less virulent or whatever, dangerous to most people.
For some of us, not all of us, obviously. 395 people died yesterday. So.
Yep. But the other way COVID has changed is that if we had this conversation like a year ago, we might have said, well, have a COVID party, get COVID.
No.
Now you're fine.
No.
We might have said that. This is not the case.
No.
So having COVID doesn't prevent you from getting COVID because this thing mutates.
It turns out the cruise was kind of a COVID party. We
really was.
Plan it that way. Yeah.
Yep. So, no, I mean, I was invited to go, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, Lisa's
I'd love
the
to go
same
to Germany.
way. Of course, she had a longer. She still doesn't have her taste and smell back.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's not good.
That's awful.
Yeah. So I can understand.
I felt bad about you in particular because, like I said, I have never seen anyone wear a mask so religiously.
You see the mask I wear?
No, seriously. Like no, I mean it's crazy. Like I
wear a Bane mask.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't think anything says more about how easily transmittable this thing is than you getting it. It's crazy. Was this made in Raccoon City? What's going on? So, anyway.
I swear to God, this is what I wear. Although, at least in one case, Delta Airlines wouldn't let somebody wearing one of these respirators on a plane. They thought, no, that's going too far. I don't know. It was scary looking.
Effective?
It's super effective. This thing, it's like you're like a jet airplane pilot. It's got a rubber gasket. Right. Made in Raccoon City. I love it.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that. So.
I got it at the balloon store, Paul. Take me back to Raccoon City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so if you want to get COVID, Gamescom's happening. So
here it comes. Hang out with a lot of nerds.
Have fun with that.
What could go wrong?
If you're familiar with the Xbox Elite Series controllers, you know that they're high-end versions of the controllers. You can swap out all the parts. They're expensive, but they're really
mine.
cool. And if you're the same year that they released Xbox Series X and S, which again was almost 2 years ago now, Microsoft released the Elite Series 2 controller, but without it wasn't the new design with the share button in the middle. It was like the old design. I was like, what's going on? So there have been rumors about there being a white version of this controller, and now there are more rumors, lots of leaks, pictures of it and everything. And so the theory here is that this thing might actually it was 3 years ago, that they released the Elite Series 2. This thing might be coming out in white, and the pictures all don't have the share button. It's still the old design. So you pay all this money for this, $200, I think, maybe even more. It's at least $200. And you're getting like the previous gen Xbox One version of the controller. Plus, it looks horrible because all those parts that snap off and can be replaced
They're
are
all black.
They're
not to
white,
mention the questionable. You really don't want a white controller. I mean,
yeah. Well, not the way I
all
drop
the Cheeto stains are going to show up, and it's
for me. It's the scuff marks from the floor.
It's not good. Yeah.
You know? So that doesn't look good to me.
This is a credible leak, though, because I mean, like he's got the box, he's got the packaging.
There are pictures of it, and So maybe it's happening. I don't know. I think it looks terrible, but whatever. And then Microsoft announced earlier this week that Unity, which anyone in gaming has probably heard of, this is the cross-platform game engine, has chosen Azure as its cloud partner. I'm not 100% sure what to make of that. I assume what that means is that its developer tool sets and whatnot will be available through, via Azure in the cloud.
I wouldn't make any announcements about Unity right now. You saw what happened.
Mm-hmm.
No.
A application marketing company called, was it App Annie?
No.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just put in a
close.
bid for Unity.
Yeah.
An all-stock bid, which no one in their right mind would probably...
McLovin.
McLovin's brother.
Yep. McLovin's company.
Which I don't think is a credible offer, and I'm sure the board will turn it down, if not the stockholders. But it puts it in play. So now I'm thinking, Unity might be, and this is a big deal for Mac people because it's the last game engine that works on Mac OS.
Well, you know what though? That's not that's true. But honestly, I think Mac game dev is about to take off a little bit.
I think you're right. I just read a really interesting article that said, this is why I said at the beginning of the show, PC gaming might be dead because developers. That's what console gaming is somewhat taken over. Developers don't want a moving target. And with PC gaming, you don't know what graphics card is going to be, how much RAM is. There's all these question
developers, they freaked out from Xbox Series X and S. I mean, imagine the infinite number of variables to a PC gaming system.
This guy's thesis, I can't remember where I saw it, but this guy's thesis, which is an interesting thesis, is Mac is now no longer a moving platform because they don't support graphics cards. You're going to have to use the silicon GPU, and you're going to have to use metal. And
so actually, it's a lot like a mobile app platform in that sense. If you were going to create games for
pretty
iOS
much fixed.
Or iPad.
It's even less though flexible because with mobile there's Exynos and Qualcomm and MediaTek. This is it. This is it.
I'm going to take slight exception to that because Apple has already released like 4 different versions of their Apple Silicon processors, which vary by GPU especially. I think GPU advances are going to be a big thing for future chipset versions. And in the beginning, I thought they would have to partner with somebody to do
they're doing it all
graphics.
themselves.
They're clearly not going to do that. But I think you're going to see like M1 or M whatever chipsets that are specifically GPU heavy. Will benefit not just gamers, but people who are involved in whatever engineering.
The way they're doing it so far, they're building these system on a chip that is basically always the same. But they decide, well, you're going to have 8 cores, 10 cores. You're going to have
they can tack on.
But I think as a developer, you don't know exactly how much power a machine will have, but you do know what the code base is. You are writing to a specific code base.
It is simpler, but I still feel like that's a little more complicated than even targeting Xbox Series X and S, because at least there are 2.
Well, and
today,
also
I would say there are 4.
It's an unknown market. I mean, when you target Xbox, what you're targeting.
They're buying games.
Yeah, they're definitely buying games.
They're buying games.
It was an interesting thesis. I'm not sure I fully buy it. We'll watch with interest. But what about the thesis that PC gaming is on the wane?
Are there numbers to back that up? I mean, I don't.
Well, PCs are on the wane.
I mean, but they're also higher unit sales per year than they were before the pandemic. I mean, it's. Look, what's the actually? So the next story is about Nintendo. I'll just get rid of that real quick. It revealed after their earnings that they've now sold 111 million Switch consoles over several years.
Wow.
The previous gen, I think the big number there was like 80-ish something million for various Xbox and PlayStation consoles. The new gen consoles have sold poorly. I mean, how do those numbers compare to what's out in the world for PCs, gaming class PCs? It's kind of hard to say, but I still feel like the most fanatical gamers go PC for the reasons that developers can't stand it, right? The ability to go crazy with graphics or just to upgrade over time. I've got this whatever series graphics now, and 2 years down the road, I'm going to, swap that out for something faster.
Well, and another counterpoint of data is with cryptocurrencies crumbling and people moving to Ethereum, moving to proof
now you can
of
buy them
stake.
cheap.
Now you can get a GPU for nothing as NVIDIA collapses.
Yep. Exactly.
And so, if you want
it's like
to be
getting a
PC
rescue
gamer,
dog. I don't really know what this thing was doing before. It seems a little messed up.
A lot of used GPUs on the market.
A lot of high miles on this thing, but you know what?
But it's also easier to get new ones, and the prices are starting to go down too. And I have a feeling that could jumpstart the PC gaming industry.
Okay,
I don't know. It's interesting to watch. Ben Thompson has a very good piece in today's Stratechery about the confluence of crypto, GPUs, NVIDIA, and NVIDIA's result.
Listen, if you thought the pandemic was bad enough, the fact that these guys were buying up all the GPUs, scumbags.
Somebody's at the front door. I'm just going to unplug you right now.
It just told you that?
It's
Would
also
you like me
muted.
to gas them?
It's muted. It's everything. But now
the Amish have arrived. What do you want me to do?
If it speaks now, be afraid.
Yep.
Yes.
Very afraid. All right. I think you did it. You made it.
I think, actually, Leo, I have to concede that round to you. I think you did it.
I made it longer. That's for sure.
I would have definitely blown through that more quickly.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah. I love my Switch. I'm very happy with my Switch. That's my gaming console. Although now that I could play Stray,
right.
I could be
that
a kitty
thing is
cat.
going to have to come to other platforms. They can't stand the PC. Can't.
Yeah, it's a Sony exclusive. It's Sony and Steam. I don't know.
Sony is arguing that Microsoft shouldn't be allowed to buy Activision because those games might not come onto PlayStation. And here it is, keeping a game on a single platform.
Play the kitty cat game on my. The one
That's
game
crazy.
Mary Jo wants to play.
I know.
That should be a phone game. It should be a phone game.
It should be.
It would be a good phone game.
It is a phone game.
Yeah.
You're sitting there in line at the store, you're meowing away, doing your stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
It has a meow key. How many games have a meow key?
Right.
They all should, but yeah.
All of them. All right. You know what's next, kids? It's time for the back of the book. When we do the back of the book, we like to start with Paul Thurrott, little Paulie, and his tip of the week. Paul?
Listen, I don't understand if anyone pays attention to anything I say. But if you're using Windows 11,
yes,
there you go. You need to listen to this one.
Somebody sent me an email saying, I will never listen to Windows Weekly again because you keep telling everybody to use Windows 11. And I said, apparently you've never listened to Windows.
Say that.
You've never listened to Windows Weekly. What are you talking about?
Wow.
We have never said go to
Well,
Windows
let me tell
11.
you, right now, you should be using Windows 11, obviously. So we'll just get past that. No, I don't. Who cares?
Sorry, he's not listening
Here's
anymore.
the thing. So listen, I'm this is so hard to explain. It actually applies to other things in Windows 11. I'm still in the process of kind of uncovering this. I feel like I might have mentioned this very vaguely last week, but I think that Windows 11 is ultimately about the elimination of choice. And they're really accelerating the number of places where you don't get a choice. And you see it in things like the default apps baloney. They've made changes to settings that apply to this. So it's really hard for me to speak definitively about this because between Windows 11, the first version, and 22H2. And between the Home Edition and Pro Edition, on both of those versions, it has changed since Windows 10, and it's changed since the original version of Windows 11. So I'll just say it like this. If you go back to Windows 10 and you're setting it up for the first time, there'll be a screen that comes up that says, hey, you can back up your stuff to OneDrive. Do you want to do that? And then there's a button, and you can see we can back up your desktop, we can back up your documents, we can back up your pictures. You can choose which of the three, or you can say I don't want any of them. There's a choice there. In Windows 11, I'm not going to be able to speak definitively, like I said, but I think in Home they took away the choice. I think in Pro they continued the choice, and then when you slip forward to 22H2, I think in Home the choice again is gone. And in Windows 11 Pro 22H2, I think what you get is a thing that says you can enable backup or not, but you don't get to choose what the folders are. It like slowly sliding back the choice. So here's the thing. If you're in the Windows Insider Preview program, that choice, that reset of your choice about backup happens every single time you install a new build. You have to look at this. And so this is what you need to do. Open OneDrive, click the little gear thing and go to Settings and go to the Backup tab and then click Manage Backup. And what it will show you is which, if any, of those folders are being backed up. If they're checked, they're being backed up. So here's the kicker for me. This just happened to me. By the way, this happened to me today after I wrote this tip. So this is just verifies what I was going to say anyway. I upgraded to Windows 11 version 22H2 today in Mexico. This laptop is a review laptop. It had the original version of Windows 11.
They're going to put that on the box. I upgraded to Windows 11 today in Mexico.
Yeah.
Paul Thurrott, Windows Weekly.
Yes, that's right. Here's what changed. I disabled backup for all of those folders because I don't want those folders backed up. Now they are all being backed up.
Oh.
The thing is, my desktop has a 4.7 gigabyte ISO file that I used to do the upgrade.
Oh, great.
That thing
That's
is
getting
being
backed
backed up to OneDrive.
Oh.
What the frick is that?
So it turned it on without your say-so?
Yep, without even asking.
That's
so
so
here's
annoying.
the thing. You buy a new computer. Let's say it could be today. It could be 6 months from now. You buy a new computer. Or you upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Depending on which version of Windows 11, depending on Home or Pro, you will see some screen that says something about OneDrive backup. It may or may not give you the choice to say yes or no. It will not give you the choice to pick the folders. You have to. Once you get to the desktop, go into OneDrive settings.
I do it
go to
every
that
time.
backup tab and see what it actually is
I don't
doing
want it to.
and turn it off.
Yep, I don't
if that's
want it
what
to.
you want. I mean, you may want it. If you want it, that's fine. But make sure it's what you want. This is insidious. And it's not just this thing. There are other examples of this in Windows 11. I'm going to talk about those in the future. But you need to look at this. And if you're in the Insider program, one thing for example, one thing it does is, and I experienced this today. So I have very specific folders that I have in what's now called the Home section of the navigation pane. It adds back folders because you've done a new install. So I think it was Documents and Pictures just showed up because, Windows knows better than I do. And I'm like, I don't want those there. But that's something you will see. It's visual. So if you make any kind of customization there, you'll probably notice it. The OneDrive thing, that could be that's happening in the background. You don't even know it's happening. And we were just talking about the OneDrive web interface and how I never use it. Here's one way to use it. Go see if those stupid things are backed up in OneDrive and delete them there if you don't want them. This is to me a kind of a serious transgression. It's people who aren't paying for OneDrive only have 5 gigabytes of storage, or 7 if they're grandfathered in. But
that's the whole plan, Paul.
That ISO file would have filled the whole thing up.
That's their evil plan. Don't you get it? By the way, Apple does the same thing. They don't turn it on once you turn it off, but the default is absolutely on for Apple, iWorks and other programs. And
this is conspiracy theory stuff. Like I doubt myself so much about it. I have to keep looking at is this really happening? And it is really happening.
Here's my positive take on it: is they know people don't back up, and they're going to hear howls of pain, and so they just turn on. It's essentially turning on backup for stuff.
I still feel like here's the thing. I agree with you 100%, but
I'm sure
there's a screen in setup that talks about OneDrive backup.
Yeah.
In Windows 10, it actually explained which folders. It gave you the choice to choose them. Now the screen is still there. It just doesn't give you the choice.
Yeah.
If you're going to have the
That's
screen
not good.
there,
No, you got to
give them the choice.
You got
Make them understand what you're doing.
You could say, you really ought to be backing it up and leave this check, but if you don't want to, here's your chance.
I preach this to people who use Windows. Put everything in OneDrive. Assuming you're paying for it in some way. Because when you wake up one day and your computer doesn't turn on, or your computer gets stolen or whatever happens to it, you'll always be fine because you're not saving important data files to a folder that's not part of OneDrive.
Right.
Always saved to OneDrive. But I have a very particular configuration, the way I do things, whatever. I use the desktop personally as a scratch space. That's why that file is there. I'm going to delete it soon.
That up. Yeah, you don't
want this thing backed up to OneDrive. I'm on like a pretty low bandwidth situation here where I am. I don't need this thing sucking up bandwidth. That's let alone occupying storage space in a thing I'm paying for.
I agree.
This freaks me out. It's weird.
But and there's also this problem where the people who write this stuff get virtually unlimited OneDrive. And so they don't even think about like the 5 gigabyte mortals. It's just of course you want to store it there.
This is like the proliferation of mobile apps on a phone. You think, this thing has infinite storage. Who cares? Well, here's why you care. Those things are bad. Those things are updating every single day.
Yeah.
Why do you have 37 apps updating every week or every day, whatever it is, that you're not even using? What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's why everybody should go on a cruise once a year, because when you have no bandwidth, you immediately realize how nothing works. Yeah. My Nintendo Switch, I couldn't play a game because I wasn't online, and all the games have anti-piracy features.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really, it makes you feel like entitled in a way. You don't realize how much you take this for granted. And you also really don't realize how many, services obviously, but apps you use that 100% require an internet connection, and you never really even thought about it.
Notion. Yeah.
Notion is a great example. That was the one I noticed, flying, last year.
We want to use it.
Yep.
By the way, if you like these kinds of tips, you know what you should be doing? You should be listening to Hands on Windows with this cat right here, Paul Thurrott. In fact, the next episode is going to be open to all. We're doing both with Hands on Mac and Hands on Windows. We're for Club Twit members initially because...
I forget where we're at. Do you know which episode it is?
I do know. The one with all the shortcut keys, which we thought...
Oh, good. That's a good one.
This is a great one.
I'm a keyboard nut.
Yeah.
I'm like a vestigial limb over here.
Yeah, he's a keyboard nut. Where's his keyboard?
Yeah. I know. It's making me crazy. Thank you. There it is.
So what we're going to do normally, because when we launch new shows now, we're going to launch them in the club because we don't have audience, we don't have advertisers. They go together. But the club members are paying, so we figured this is a way to kind of jumpstart shows like Hands on Windows. We know that's going to get big enough to go public, but we get it started, we get it flowing, we get an audience, we can start selling it, and then we can go public with it. But we want to periodically, with both Hands on Mac and Hands on Windows, have some episodes, especially ones that are of great utility. So we just did that with Hands on Mac.
That's a good one. I really want people to use keyboard shortcuts. It's, consider, I'll just throw out one thing. I'm sorry to completely derail this.
Not at all.
If you think about what's in the taskbar when you get Windows 11 out of the box, right? There's a widgets thing, a start button. There's 3 more items that are search, task view, and chat, which is for Teams. And then Microsoft pins 3 apps, File Explorer, Edge, and the Store. Your PC Maker may add 2 more. You can delete every single one of those things, except for the start button, and still access every single one of those things with a keyboard shortcut. Like, you can get rid of widgets, get rid of task view, get rid of search, get rid of chat, and you can still use them. Now you've freed up space for your own apps. You don't, like, those things are just there so people find them, but once you know they're there, you don't need them there, because you could do Windows key plus W for widgets, Windows key plus S or Q for some reason for search, Windows key plus C for chat, and Windows key plus tab for task view. All you have to know is the tab. And this is me. I'm, like, I just do keyboard shortcuts all the time.
So
anyway,
here's what's going to happen.
Big.
If you're a Club Twit member, you'll get this in every episode of Hands on Windows. And it's worth being a member because it's not just that, it's ad-free versions of every show. You also get the Twit Plus feed with stuff like I did a little demo of shadow.tech before Windows Weekly to show Paul and Mary Jo. That'll be in the Twit Plus feed because it was before the episode. You also get the Discord where lots of great stuff, and Alex Lindsay Ask Me Anything's coming up next week. And Stacy's Book Club, Clara and the Sun. There's shows in there like the Untitled Linux show, Stacy's Book Club, the Giz Fizz with Hands on Windows, Hands on Mac, that are not published publicly. Although, if you do want to see this special episode of Hands on Windows, that's going to be on the Twit feed, I believe, on YouTube. So I think correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think youtube.com/twit. Just watch for it because we put all the Twit bits there. But
and by the way, this is tip of the iceberg stuff too.
There's lots more. I know.
There's a ton more.
That's why Hands on Windows is such a good show, and you should be a Club Twit member. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. $7 a month. That's all. Or you could pay $2.99 a month for any individual.
So wait a minute. Is that true? Because I had somebody. Okay, somebody told me they couldn't find that for the Hands on Windows.
YouTube. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. I think I don't know. They don't tell me nothing, or they tell me and it goes through my head.
I know you can get it on iTunes by itself.
That's what I'm saying.
Why would you should pay iTunes. For the? No one should subscribe. No, who would subscribe just to this show? You should subscribe to the whole thing.
Well, for $4 more a month, you get everything. But anyway,
get everything. Yep.
Just a little plug. Twit. And soon,
it's like two tips in one.
Mary Jo Foley, how not to ever write a book again. It's going to be great.
I could do a whole series on
series.
that.
I'll get you yet, my pretty.
101 reasons not.
And your dog, Toto,
to
too.
co-author a book with Paul. Your app pick of the week, my friend.
Yeah, so Parallels just released Parallels Desktop 18 for Mac. So this is the latest version of their virtualization solution, which on M1 Macs lets you run Windows 11 and 10 on ARM. The joke here, so to speak, it's not really that funny if you're on the Microsoft side of the fence, is that Windows on ARM runs better on a Mac in virtualization than it does on real hardware, which is really painful. So with this release, they're adding support for macOS Ventura when it comes out, including Ventura features like that Stage Manager feature, where if you run in, look at me pulling out Mac terms, if you run in coherence mode, those Windows apps you're running will appear in that little sidebar thing from Stage Manager as apps, right? I mean, they kind of just work. So that's pretty cool. Supports Windows 11 out of the box. The big thing there is just the streamlining of you're acquiring Windows 11, you're paying for the license, it's activated, you're in. You don't have to be in the Insider program like you had to be in the beginning. It's not supported, although just like last year, there's murmurings of, it's going to happen eventually. Microsoft knows about this. They're working on it. We'll see. But if you need to run some number of Windows apps, you have an M1 or whatever based Mac, this is a great way to do it. And so there you go. So I think it's, I don't know, it's probably $80 if you buy it outright, the perpetual license, and then you can subscribe as well. And there are pro and business versions, et cetera, et cetera. So,
but you're still using the beta of WOA, right? Windows on ARM. You're not.
No, well, no. Supposedly, this is the thing. This is the thing I don't quite understand. I was asking Mary Jo about this because I installed this and I said I thought this was just the Insider version, and the story is no. You can activate it and get on. You can get mainstream like a. Yeah, so they have a way to do that. It's just that Microsoft doesn't support it. Right.
Right. Yep.
Oh.
So it's baby steps, but again, it's better than the alternative right now. And maybe I think, given the way these things are going with Fusion and Parallels Desktop, I don't think we're ever going to see native. Well, it wouldn't be native. Emulated execution of x64 code for Windows. Let me simplify that statement. I don't think we're ever going to see the ability to virtualize Intel X, 64 versions of Windows on an M whatever based Mac. I think it's always going to be the ARM version. So, but the performance is stunning. It's great. And now that, within that you can run x64 apps, right? That's supported. That works great. It runs basically everything. Some of the issues with Windows on ARM are gone when you run it on a Mac this way, because the ability to run, to have those drivers and things like that, it doesn't matter. You're running it on a Mac. You don't have to worry about whatever little features your printer might have. That stuff's all handled through the Mac. And the app compatibility stuff is pretty much solved. And we have better performance, which is crazy. So you could buy a brand new $2,000 Windows and ARM PC. It's going to run slower than it would in emulation on a Mac.
It's crazy.
Crazy. It is. It's great.
Should I have tried to run Stray on Windows on ARM? I bet Stray wouldn't work on Windows on ARM.
You know what? They do talk about gaming. I've never done that. I think a game like that, maybe. I don't know that you would get 4K. Like that's probably pushing it, but it'd be interesting to try that. If you have it, you should try it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably
it's kind of interesting to try. I don't know. Yeah. They always, whenever anyone does a gaming demo and they want to show like frame rate and graphic quality, they always pull out this like 6-year-old version of Tomb Raider. It's like it's the one that everyone uses,
I know.
And it always looks great. That's the one game. If you like that game, you could run that anywhere. It's like the new Doom. I guess.
It ain't no crisis. Let's put it that way.
No.
Enterprise pick of the week, Mary Jo Foley.
Yes. So surprisingly, all this talk about Windows on ARM on Apple Silicon has a connection to my enterprise pick. A weird indirect connection.
It all is connected.
Right. So a couple weeks ago, I made my enterprise pick a story that I had seen that said, after October 2023, Office 2016 and Office 2019 users weren't going to be able to connect anymore to Microsoft 365 on the back end. And it just, everybody was like, wait, what? Like, this seems crazy. How can this possibly be? Especially since those two versions of Office, which are perpetual clients, meaning they're not subscription clients, are supported until 2025. So how can they not connect after next year? So I went back to Microsoft because a lot of people were asking me about this pick. And I had to go many rounds with them over this because anything with licensing, it's complicated. So it turns out it's not exactly true that you won't be able to connect to the back end. What Microsoft is telling people is you can keep connecting to the back end services next year, but you know what? Some things might break or they might not. We're not guaranteeing that everything's going to work as it should, but use it at your own risk after next year. So you know what this is just like? It's just like the Windows on Apple Silicon stuff, right?
Exactly.
It's not supported, quote unquote, by Microsoft. Same thing with Windows 11 running on a non-compliant PC. You can do it, but Microsoft's trying to throw a little uncertainty into the mix and says, you know what, if you do it, if something breaks, it's where you may or may not patch it for you, right? So the true story seems to be that you will, if you're running Office 2016 or 2019, you will continue to be able to access Microsoft 365 backend services next year. And at least until 2025, when those two Office clients are no longer in support, meaning they won't get security patches. But there is a chance, because Microsoft is continuing to add features to the backend services that may or may not work with these clients, that some things may not work as expected. So yeah, the truth is a little more subtle and nuanced than the scare tactic headlines from Microsoft may lead you to believe.
So lack of support doesn't mean
what you think it does.
I don't know what it doesn't mean, but
this isn't the support you think it is.
Okay.
No, it doesn't mean like starting October next year, if you're running Office 2019 and you go to connect to Exchange online, it's just, that's not going to happen.
Okay, good. That's good to know, actually. That's good.
Yeah.
You have another enterprise pick, I believe.
I do. My second enterprise pick this week is something that's called Entra Verified ID. So Entra is a new brand that Microsoft launched in May this year. It's the brand for all of their identity and access products. So Azure Active Directory sits under the Entra brand now. So this week, the piece that's new that went generally available is the verified identity piece. Verified identity started out as an incubation about 5 years ago at Microsoft. It came out as something called Azure Active Directory Verifiable Credentials. So that's what went live this week and is now generally available. What this does, and I'm getting a little out of my waters here because identity security, it's a complex topic that I don't cover intimately. But if you are an Azure Active Directory customer, using this verified identity capability, you can now issue, request, and verify credentials right online. So, you have cards in real life, like ID cards. This is the digital version of an ID card. And it's meant for things like, they give us examples of reasons you might use this. Proof of employment, proof of education, any other kind of claim of onboarding kind of stuff. All of these things are what you could do if you use these Entra-verified ID cards in your organization. So the way Microsoft's doing this is they're partnering with all kinds of companies that are in the identity verification space. I don't know almost any of these companies except LexisNexis is one of them, but Aquant, Clear, Jumio, Onfido, however you say that. I'm like, I don't know any of these names, but I guess they're big in identity verification.
Fido is definitely the pronunciation of that.
Fido.
Like a doggy.
Okay. Like a doggy. Yeah, on Fido.
Yeah.
I know. There's so many names here. I'm like, I don't even know these companies. But all of this is about trying to recreate digitally what we have in real life, which is an identity card that would be a central place where you keep all your credentials and you can use them whenever you need to prove something. Like it's all in one place, all
idea.
Secure.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I mean, if this takes off, this is huge, right? And this is the cornerstone of what Microsoft's trying to do with this whole Entra brand that they launched.
Do you have to tie it to a Microsoft account?
It's connected with Azure Active Directory.
Oh,
so.
I see. So you'd have to.
But I'm sure they're trying to get other people to kind of back this play.
Well,
and
that's
somehow
that's obviously the first place
right?
to do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
enterprise is going to jump on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'd be nice just in general, especially
Right.
since it's like international.
I know. Right.
All right.
Right.
I love Microsoft's leadership in this, to be honest.
Yeah. Yep.
Going way back to, remember Passport, their single sign-on?
Yes. They've always been interested in this idea of having a single centralized identity source, right? Like this. And back in the Passport days, that everybody freaked out. Remember, people were like, "Oh, I'm not letting Microsoft keep my credentials." And now it's like, "Oh yeah, they would be a good company."
It's interesting,
maintain my
because
credentials.
for a long time I thought nobody in America wants a national ID.
Right.
That's like
Right.
antithetical to freedom or something. And now all of a sudden, I think, and it really comes down to the fact that we have all these passwords and all, and there's all this hacking going on. A secure, strong ID. Not so much for papers, please, to give the police, but for your online identity would be so valuable. So
it would
solve so many problems.
Apple and Google have got this, Leo. I don't know.
Passkeys.
Don't worry.
And I think this is probably compatible with passkeys. I don't know. But Microsoft's in on the passkeys thing too. So, I kind of...
Let's ask Steve Gibson about it
I
and
will.
what he thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He listens to the
curious.
show, so Steve's getting to work on it as we speak.
All right, good.
I know
Let's get him on it.
Clear is one of the people partnering with it, and that's kind of interesting because Clear's the one where you
I have
go through the airport security faster because you have it, and they have your iris scan and your fingerprints.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have something to add?
I was going to, when you do your beer, I have a little follow up to your beer pick.
Okay.
Let's do the
Nice.
beer.
Because
Okay.
Beer's here.
I was
Good.
interested to see Canton, Massachusetts make an appearance in the notes.
Yes. Yes. So, I talk sometimes on the show about whales. These are beers that everybody wants to drink, and they're hard to get, and people travel to go get them because they're so hard to get.
Like Pliny, Pliny the Younger and the Elder.
Yes.
Right, yes.
Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger.
Yes.
Trillium, which is based in Canton, Massachusetts, is one of these companies that makes beers that everybody wants, and it's really hard to get them.
Yes.
But this week in New York, for some reason, there's a ton of Trillium floating around, no pun intended, on draft in cans.
Don't drink the brown Trillium, though, man.
Do not.
You'll get on a bad trip.
You don't want that.
No.
But, I'll tell you, if you see anything from Trillium, it's going to be good. Every beer I've ever had from them has been the perfect example of a style, right? And so they name a lot of their beers after streets in Boston. The beer pick I have for today is Congress Street from Trillium. It's it's hard to explain this, but it's so basic and well done that it doesn't need gimmicks, right? You have this, and it's like, this is what a perfect IPA is.
It's not
Tastes-
fermented on raspberries.
No,
there's no chocolate in this beer.
No,
Yeah.
there's no weird additions.
Doesn't
There's no
have hints of
popsicles.
lemongrass.
No.
No popsicles.
No popsicles, no candy. Like people throw candy, graham crackers, bread.
Yeah,
None of those. None of those things. All it is a great IPA. On the front end, you have all the things you love. It's hopped with Galaxy hops, which means it's like melony and deliciously fruity. And then when you have melon, like cantaloupe a little bit. At the end, when you finish the sip, it's bitter, just the way you want it.
I want this.
Perfectly
This
bitter.
I know Paul's not an IPA fan, but
Yeah.
it's
kind of the
understand.
perfect IPA.
I don't like stuff that's too hoppy either. But this
No,
this
it's
sounds
not
great.
too hoppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I know. You don't like IPAs. I know. You can't be
Well, no,
perfect. you know?
look, we don't have time for this whole story, but Trillium wasn't always based in Canton, Massachusetts, and
No.
maybe Mary Jo knows the term for this, but they were kind of a
Gypsy
like
brewer.
a gypsy brewery. There you go.
Gypsy
Yeah, they would just rent out other facilities to
Yeah.
make their stuff.
Yeah.
They came to Canton right after or right around the time that Blue Hills Brewery, which used to be my favorite brewery, also in Canton, disappeared.
Oh,
Those
wow.
guys were slackers of the highest order. They made the best beer I've ever had. They made IPAs that I loved. The two things about that company that blow me away is that they were one of the companies asked to make a Games of Thrones beer, which they declined. And then they said,
They said no,
can you just give
right?
us one of
Yeah.
your, they said no. They said, can you just give us one of your existing beers? They said, sure. They did. It won awards. They're like, all right, we're going to go national with this. Like, yeah, we're not interested in that.
Oh, I love
And so
that.
they went to
love that.
Omegang. Omegang got it.
Yeah, they did.
Because Blue Hills Brewery screwed it up. This is a company that wouldn't go into Boston because the traffic on the expressway was too bad, and they didn't want to bring their beer. It was just crazy. So Trillium came to Canton, literally across the street, and they've been kicking ass, like you said. And so they are exactly what you said they are. They've done everything right, and super successful.
Yeah.
And it just makes me sad because the guy who we were friends with, who ran and was the brewmaster for Blue Hills Brewery, was a genius. And there was just no business sense over there at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just feel really bad about it. I don't understand how they disappeared. I think I at one point gave you some of their IPAs.
You
which
did. You did.
We're almost the only IPAs I ever. One of them was called Quarter Mile,
Yeah.
which I think was the double IPA. And they made that what do you call that really sugary kind of beer? The brandy wine beer. Barley wine, barley wine. I'm sorry, thank you. Fantastic. They were just so fantastic. But Trillium has completely taken over for that. So.
Yeah, I walked into my local beer store and I'm like looking at, as I do, I spend some time looking at all the IPAs, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. I like opened the cabinet and I yelled out, and it's all like full of people. I'm like, there's Trillium in here, and people just like stampeded over to the cabinet. I'm like, oh, sorry, everyone.
Yeah,
Sorry.
should have been quiet. Yeah. No, they're a big deal. I remember having Trillium beer. I mean, this would have been more than several years ago. We've been moved away since for 5. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was just, they were magical, and they were like in every sense of the word, because it's like, where is this place? There is no place.
Yeah.
They were. You never knew where it was going to pop up.
I like the name Gypsy Brewer. That's great.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Well, because they would have to rent out facilities.
Sure.
This is a
Right.
community.
A lot of the
people-
best
these guys
brewers start that way, right?
Yeah.
Like
they all know each
they
other,
know a
and
place
they
to
help
go.
each other out.
It's like
and-
pop-up restaurants, which is also
It
a
is.
thing these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, Canton is next to Dedham, and Canton is where Stephanie and I lived for the first 3 years we were married.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow.
Yeah. But Blue Hill, they're right. Well, Blue Hills is gone, but they were right in the same neighborhood, basically.
Yeah. Nice.
Canton, so.
Anyway, that's the pick.
Interesting.
If you can find Trillium anywhere,
If you can find
Cans
any Trillium,
draft.
Yep.
get it. Just get it.
Excellent. I think you have completed your assignments admirably. And I am now happy to say that thanks to the power vested in me, you are all graduates of this week's Windows Weekly. Well done.
I have Sauron level 1.
Prestige 11.
Yes.
Paul Thurrott is at thurrott.com. That's his website. become a premium member for the really good stuff. Actually, it's all good, but the premium stuff is really, really good. You'll also find Paul at leanpub.com. That's where his books are, including
Leo,
Field Guide to Win. What?
I apologize. Your wife has emailed me, and I feel we have to address this. She says, you can go to our club page at twit.tv/clubtwit. Single purchases for
Did I not say that?
Windows.
Did I not?
You did. But I, like I said, somebody emailed me. She has verified that they are available at the bottom.
And did I not tell you that she's listening every time, all the time, constantly listening to the show?
Oh, we know.
Yep.
We know.
She is the single source of truth.
Yes.
Go down the bottom,
monthly,
you'll see two.
Join today annually. Or
No, if you go to like an individual show page,
or
go to like Hands on Windows or Hands on Mac.
Join our Hands on Mac only page.
There you go.
Or join our Hands on Windows only page. And that list may lengthen, of course.
I was going to say, I assume more are coming.
It's all here at twit.tv/clubtwit. And it's a big help to us, by the way, if you participate, because as you know, winter is coming.
Yep.
And it's just nice to have
Didn't
a little
feel like it
something
yesterday,
tucked away.
but yep.
I know.
Yeah.
Leanpub.com is where you'll find the field guide to Windows 10 and soon Windows 11. And, of course, Hands on Windows is available at twit.tv/clubtwit. But do look for that special open to everyone version on our YouTube channel, because that's going to be a must-watch. It'll give you a taste of what you're missing. Let's see. Mary Jo Foley, she writes for ZDNet. The blog is easy to find because it's got its own vanity domain name, which is, by the way, the same as the license plate on her PT Cruiser. It's allaboutmicrosoft.com. It's a very big license. All about Microsoft.
Her horn makes the Windows 11 boot up sound when she hits it.
It does. It does indeed.
I don't know why. I just see you driving a PT Cruiser with a custom license plate.
She's like the one person in New York that has a Microsoft sticker on her car instead of an Apple logo.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you,
Someone
Paul.
has to be that person, guys.
Thank you, Mary Jo. You are that person, and we're glad.
Yep.
We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, about 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. You can watch us do it live on the live stream, which goes 24/7. It's live.twit.tv. If you're watching live, chat live, irc.twit.tv, or in our Club Twit Discord. There's a chat going on in both places. After the fact, on-demand versions of this show and every show we do available at twit.tv. The website, in this case, is twit.tv/WW. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to Windows Weekly, so you can watch there. That's good for sharing. If you want to just get a little clip and share it with somebody, you can do that at YouTube very easily. And then, of course, if you subscribe, you'll get it automatically the minute it's available. Just get your favorite podcast player and search for Windows Weekly. You'll find it immediately. And Club Twit members get a custom feed that they can use in Pocket Casts or Overcast or Google or Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. So they can do it also. If you listen after the fact, there are other places to interact besides the live chat. There's a forum, a wonderful forum, I think. Of course, I'm a little biased. At twit.community. And that's free to join. All are welcome. And we have our own Mastodon instance, which is an open source federated version of Twitter. That's at twit.social. So there's twit.community and twit.social. Both of those are open to all. We'd love to see you in there. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Come back next week for another thrilling, gripping edition of Windows Weekly. So long, winners and dozers. Bye-bye.
And dozers.
And dozers.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands on Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.